everybody, and welcome back, or welcome to 2025. This week, every podcast is going to start with a welcome to 2025, and surprise if this is your first time listening, we've got a lot of them. Brad Shoemaker, welcome to 2025.
That's right. I'm oiled up and ready to podcast.
Gross.
Here.
Fantastic and gross. Alex Navarro, are you oiled up?
I mean, I am, but not because of the new year. That's just how I like to live my life. But I'm gonna sidestep this whole thing and say I'm gonna welcome everyone to 1976 because we must go back.
Yeah. What's in 76? Well, why do we need to go to
the
76?
Carter years?
What happened?
Jimmy Carter died. Let's go back. Let's fix it. Let's fix everything, man.
The man lived to 100. What do you need to fix?
His presidency.
Well, okay. Good luck. I'll see you on like the 120th iteration of that one.
I just got to go back there and warn him. It's like, no, don't do any of that shit, man.
Are you saying that's where the timeline diverged?
I do think that is maybe where some things started to topple.
Maybe, maybe it was worse, and somebody was like, let's just put Jimmy Carter in. Who knows? Maybe the timeline. If
yeah,
you
it was
can
Gerald
go back,
Ford. That was the worst.
And maybe he was in, and maybe if you can go back, that doesn't mean somebody else couldn't have gone back, and so you don't know what you're doing. I've watched that Simpsons episode now. I know that you can't change it.
I have time travel on the mind because I was just doing the Terminator 3 Blight Club with the giant bomb folks. Dan is finally making good on that thing that I made him said he had to do starting. What was that, in like March last year?
That was
when we did that Beastcast.
It was at the PAX, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at the PAX. That was like March, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I think they're changing PAX East out of March into April.
Yeah. So 10 months later, he finally got to it.
So hang on, what kind of leverage did you have over him in order to compel him to do this? Did he lose a bet or something? Because that's the only way he does anything, right? Is if he lost
I'm the
a
god
bet.
of Blight Club. That's what it is.
Oh, right. Okay.
I am the trickster god that decides. I mean, they're allowed to pick their own bad games as well, but every once in a while, I'm going to swoop in and torment them the way I want to. That was part of the devil's bargain he made to get the branding from me.
Are you the patron saint?
I mean, saint
Club?
is really maybe the wrong term for it. Go in the other direction a little bit. I'm kind of a demon.
Can you get one of those? Can you get one of those like stained glass looking painted portraits of yourself? Like what? Isn't that what when they canonize people, right? Don't you get your painting?
Do you?
I think
you get a stained glass window in a church somewhere, probably.
Do you?
I've seen paintings of people who have been
canonized.
Or isn't that what happens when you're made a saint?
But hang on. We're checking in with resident Catholic expert Vinny Caravella. Is that what canonization is?
I think that's right.
You getting a stained glass window?
That is, I believe. Well, I don't know about that. The canonized is definitely being brought into sainthood. Now I have to go to confession to admit I don't know. Thanks, Alex.
Maybe if I go watch Conclave, I'll learn something.
The only reason I ask is I have seen paintings of people who have been sainted from like or canonized from the 20th century, and it's like it's a very old style of painting. Except they're wearing like a modern business suit in the painting.
That's cool.
Like
ain't right.
A weird contrast. So now I want to see Alex in his Nine Inch Nails shirt in that.
Great,
rendered in that way.
Totally. I honestly, I don't think anyone should ever be rendered in stained glass in anything other than a robe.
Or how about a Nine Inch Nails robe?
I mean, I could probably pull that off.
You have to perform a miracle. So what is the miracle that you performed? Getting Dan to play Terminator 3?
I'm not a saint. I'm really in the other direction. I am a tormenting demon of video games. I'm here to make them play the worst bullshit imaginable.
And so it was Terminator and Drake and the 99 Dragons, yes?
That's the one he has to do after he finishes Terminator 3, yes.
What, did he dress up in some Terminator 3 outfit?
There was, in fact, an outfit. There was a wig. There was a leather jacket. There's some kind of muscle suit he's wearing under it that you couldn't really tell because he was sitting the whole time. So.
Wait, so he went with the Terminator?
Yeah.
Man.
Did you think he was going to be the Terminatrix?
Or the John Connor? I don't know. It's too easy. The
John Connor in that movie isn't even memorable. It's fucking Nick Stahl. Like, it's not even like the Edward Furlong John Connor.
I'm trying to... Terminator 3... is the one where that ends with him becoming like quote unquote John Connor in the bunker, right?
Judgment Day happens.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Hello, this is John Connor.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gets to assume his destiny. Yes.
Okay.
That sounds bad.
Yeah.
I've not seen Terminator 3.
Yeah.
You know what? The dark ending is actually the best part of that whole fucking movie. Like the fact that they were willing to just say, actually, no, you can't stop this is like, okay. No fate but what you make, except fuck off. Actually, you're stuck with this.
Also, Brad and the population. Spoilers here. From my memory, not a huge Terminator, post-Terminator 2 person. I think they only get worse.
They definitely get worse.
Yeah. So if you think Terminator 3 sounds bad, you should read the plot for like Genesis and the rest of.
I have seen Genesis.
Oh, okay.
Multiple times.
Oh no! Why?
No, you may be the only one.
It is ridiculous.
Why?
It is ridiculous.
Like, it is not to be taken seriously. I'll say that.
No.
What bet did you lose?
Frankly, I have. The reason I watched it multiple times was because I have kept marveling at how it could possibly exist.
Oh, okay.
It's like, it is maybe the most shitty of the shitty soft reboots, greatest hits type franchise films of that era. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, you know, they've got their 20 minutes with a T-1000, and then they've got their replay of the intro of the first Terminator that happens, and then, like, you know what I mean? It's just like beat from different other Terminator movies all jammed together in the most ridiculous way.
It's spoilers again for Terminator, but you know what? The ones I'm talking about deserve to be spoiled. Is that the one with the mind virus? Is that Genesis?
Yes, or like Skynet is the internet, basically.
Yeah, the woke mind virus is Skynet.
Like Skynet is an app, effectively.
Is it the one where John Connor winds up being evil?
Yes, he becomes a Terminator.
Yes, okay.
He becomes
because it's some nanomachines.
Yes,
or
he becomes
right?
a nanomachine Terminator.
Fucking infected
with,
man.
He is a human John Connor that gets infected by nanomachines and becomes a Terminator made out of nanomachines.
Shut it down.
It's really dumb.
It's really bad.
That's the kind of thing you reserve for like a bad one-shot comic book, not for a feature film
or a video game.
They recast Kyle Reese with Jai Courtney.
Okay.
To be clear.
Oh, Jai Courtney. That's a name I've not heard in quite some time. Not a good actor.
And which is the one with Christian Bale?
Salvation, right?
Okay.
That's the fourth
Which is
one.
Not terrible.
That's like,
no, it is. It's a different
right.
kind of terrible, but it is terrible.
I've seen it in bits and pieces, but it's not great either. That's the Future War one.
Yes, from McG, the director of the Charlie's Angels films.
Yeah, and then there was Dark Fate, was the most recent one, which is the one that Cameron got behind and kind of like
Linda Hamilton was in it too, wasn't she?
Yes, she's in it. Like Cameron, pretty bluntly, was just like, yeah, those other sequels didn't happen. This is the real Terminator 3.
And then that movie was also kind of dog shit.
It was. I didn't hate it, but it was not. You should look up what happens in the first 10 minutes of that movie, or I could just tell you right now.
Sure, you can tell. You can tell me.
There is a digital young Edward Furlong in it, like roughly the same age he was in 2, maybe a little older, like 12, 13, 14. Another Terminator, another Arnold model shows up in the first 5-10 minutes of that movie and just blows him away.
So,
like dead, like very graphically with a shotgun dead.
That Terminator succeeded.
Uh-huh.
So, like, yeah, this is something I didn't really quite understand about the Terminator movies, and we don't need to spend the entire episode here.
No, we're already here.
We're going to spend a decent amount here. What stops them from continuing to send Terminators back? Nothing?
Well, it depends on the movie and which part of the storyline you're going with, but usually the excuse they go with is they blew up the time machine factory, so they can't send more.
Yeah.
Like Terminator 1... the rebels or the resistance, not rebels really. Let's call them the
humans.
The humans.
The TechCom army.
They blew up the time machine, but they only after they sent one back.
Yes,
or 2.
Two. Well, after
they
Kyle
do it again in
back.
Terminator 2, I think. Yeah,
but
the different movies treat time travel somewhat differently.
Okay.
The other thing, if you dig into it a little bit, like the time travel and the T-1000 and all that stuff, were like all super experimental. Like so it was like Skynet was kind of like flailing and. Like those were like desperation moves, Hail Marys, because that's what it had, you know. It's like they didn't have a lot of extra Terminators to throw around, I think.
Okay.
Or at least the T-1000.
The skin jobs?
Yeah. Because that was the bit, right? Was that like the thing Kyle Reese says in the first movie is that they had finally started to win the war a bit.
Yeah, like it was like super. How did we get talking about deep Terminator lore? I'm not sure, but
you mentioned Terminator 3, it just goes there.
I think that Skynet. I think the idea is that Skynet is like extremely on the back foot by the time it's sending Terminators into the past, and like the T-1000 was the absolute last chance Hail Mary.
And they also say that like the time travel thing is like very resource intensive too.
Yeah,
I think.
I think that's also right.
But then I feel like I watched T2 not that long ago and don't remember a lot of time spent on explaining anything about how they sent another one back.
I don't remember why I know that or where that came from. Honestly.
Maybe that's a T1 thing, and Maybe. T2 is just like, hey,
We're doing it again.
We're doing. But now they have this. Now the Terminators are way more fucked up, and then we have this. What is it called? Alloy.
The T-1000 is supposed to be an experimental unit. It's not like they have those. Like they can just start shoving out the door on the regular.
I think that's the only one.
Oh, sorry, T-1000, not so T-200 is the skin job.
T-800 is the Arnold one. Yeah.
Oh, of course, I think there's like T-600s that have rubber skin and shit too. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. This is all explained, I'm sure. Is there anything above the T-1000 in the movies?
Well, yes. There's apparently a T-1 million in one of them.
Yeah, I mean, like
I think I saw that at CES. It had a lot of antenna on it.
Like the John Connor Terminator is arguably more advanced than that. My opinion is there are 2 Terminator movies.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
To be clear.
I would be willing to grant them Terminator 3 because at least Arnold is there and it's like within range of those first 2 movies, even though I don't think it's very good. Everything after that just feels like reboot after reboot after reboot that does not work.
Isn't Arnold in the Christian Bale one?
No. There's a digital version of that Terminator at the end of Salvation, I believe.
He is in Genesis, right?
Yeah, he is stars in Genesis, also stars in Dark Fate.
That's what I thought. I think Salvation is the only one that doesn't have him.
You want to hear the best thing about Dark Fate?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Even crazier than the Edward Furlong getting killed.
Yes.
The Terminator that went back and killed him, then stayed in the past and got old.
What?
And developed a conscience.
What?
And got married.
I'm done.
Yeah, you should be.
Cash me out, Genie. I'm out. I'm hitting the clock.
Yeah, nobody thinks about what happens to those Terminators after you just leave them in the past. Like, it's just, there's no reclamation project. You're just leaving your fucking future garbage in our timeline.
There's an aged, well, I mean, it's all just writing around the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger's in his 70s now.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But yes, like there is an aged Terminator in that movie that straight up is married and is living a like quiet rural life.
Does he have kids?
No.
Okay.
Don't think about it.
That's
don't
maybe a bridge too far.
To whom does he get married?
I don't remember her being a major character. Like,
does she know he's a Terminator?
I don't believe so.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
They're fully functional, Vinny.
I think the idea is that he's just like a very taciturn guy. You know?
Yeah. No, he's like your average dad from the Midwest in the 1950s. Yes. That's just how they all work.
Who never goes to the doctor.
Yes. Yeah. Doesn't talk much.
No, never. All right. Whatever.
Anyway, Terminator.
Dan's playing Terminator 3.
Rise of Machines. Yes.
Rise of the Machines.
Man, okay, we should move on, but I want to hear what he thinks of all those movies because I'm sure he's seen all of them.
Well, the reason I foisted this particular game upon him was from that extremely out-of-pocket comment he made years ago about where he thought Terminator 3 might be better than 1.
Yeah, that's...
Wait, is that what he said? I thought
he has
1 was...
gone back on that in the ensuing years and has said, no, that was an incorrect thing that I said.
Okay.
But I'm trying to teach him that words have consequences.
That's, fair enough.
Yeah.
And Drake was just for fun.
And Drake's just because I wanted to make him suffer.
Fair enough. Well, we speaking of alleviating the suffering, we're back from break. We had a long break, 2 weeks.
Wait, was the break the alleviating, or is being back at work the alleviating? Were you suffering during the break?
No.
Okay.
It is a reprieve from the suffering.
So you're suffering now, is what you're saying.
So punished Vinny.
Suffer and succotash.
We were on break. I spent most of that break playing Satisfactory. I talked a little bit about it on the Ramblecast.
That's a good way to live.
If you missed it, Satisfactory, my number 1 2024 with the bullet game, my personal game of the year. Satisfactory is an amazing game. Everything in 1.0 also amazing. Things they added, being able to multiply your outputs, being able to have your dimensional depot. I streamed it on Monday. If you want to go check that out, I kind of go through the factory. You can take a look at it. Played with the kids.
Is that the Family Factory that you streamed? I
did, the Family Factory. Actually, I had to change the server name from my street name to the Family server. So when I put it up, I was like, I'm only going to dox myself a little bit here.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. But yes, it was funny when I was talking to some folks in our Discord about like, hey, somebody was asking, should we get like a server going for the Discord for Nextlander? Vanilla Satisfactory supports 4 people, but you can configure that up to more. The bigger thing is like, man, you kind of got to coordinate. Like it's not a solo endeavor. And other people brought this up too in the Discord. It's even with the fam, it could be a little like, hey man, I see you're peeling off some of my iron here.
What are you doing with that?
What do you? This is a very precise machine here. This is can't do that. What are you taking?
Yeah.
I need 0.2 per second here, and you're peeling off.
Kind of fucking up our timetables.
You know, somebody has to replace that iron, don't you?
You know that it's
that iron doesn't just come from nowhere.
Think that iron grows on trees?
Where do you think this comes from? The sky?
Sky iron? So yeah, I don't know. It could be tough. Could be tough.
You just got to instruct them in the ways of iron usage.
So you're just gonna make your factory look like this? Just gonna this
leave
is
all this shit everywhere,
right?
huh?
Then, there was absolutely a point at which I was like, look, you're leaving your shit everywhere. There's a bunch of dismantle crates now on the map. You have to go clean these. I will go help you clean up your shit this time. You cannot just leave dismantle crates all over the map. It clogs up the whole map. I don't feel like turning them off. Come on, people. We're running a factory here. So we'll see.
What do you think? Doing this for fun?
For
enjoyment?
We got 48 hours left in this break.
This is industry, people.
We got a space elevator to feed. So Satisfactory 1.0. I think personally, I made the right choice. Usually after Game of the Year, in the game I pick for Game of the Year, I don't remember a time I've just gone back in and just played that game, basically exclusively during the break.
Yeah. Pretty strong endorsement.
Yeah. So my clock on there was in the mid 100 hours on that thing.
I believe it.
On that factory?
On that factory. So
Jeez.
I'm over 300 hours on the playtime on the game, but yeah, it's some good factoring. I don't want to go over everything from that game here now because I've talked about it quite a bit, but you can check out the stream. It should be up. The archive is up now. The other thing quickly here that I put time into, that was my during the day game, my evening game, my falling asleep
Your
game.
after dark game.
Yeah, because it's so naughty, is Star Wars Outlaws.
Illegal!
Yes, Star Wars, the sexiest franchise.
You like aliens, you like huts, huh? You like Jabbas, huh? You like
I'd fuck a hut.
Yeah. What's the Twi'leks? You like a Twi'lek? Twi'lek? Plenty of people do. I'm trying to think if I can name some of the species from Outlaws because they do a pretty good job.
Gungans?
Are there any Gungans in there?
No.
There must be a Gungan somewhere in there.
Disney has slowly been warming up to the fact that a lot of people actually want prequel stuff in their Star Wars. They need to start dropping some Gungans.
Maybe, yes, drop the Gungans.
How about, I bet there's got to be some Gamorreans in there, for example.
And Bothans?
Definitely. I don't know if the Bothans are in there.
Bothans.
What's Rhodians?
Mon Calamari, Rhodian, yep.
I don't know if I've seen a Mon Calamari. We have there's definitely Rhodians, Twi'leks or Twi'lek?
I always said Twi'lek, but I don't know.
Okay. There's a lot of I don't remember what's the walrusy looking guy with the big eyes and kind of the walrus teeth, the one that it's in the cantina in the episode 4.
I do not know.
Yeah. Okay. There's that. There's the guy who is the co-pilot for Lando. A lot of those guys. The
Yub-Nub.
No, it's Nian. It's N-U-N-B. How the hell do you pronounce that?
Nunb.
That guy. The guy who laughs.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm realizing?
What?
I could probably name just about every Star Trek species within a certain range, and I can't name maybe even 5 Star Wars species that aren't human off the top of my head.
They're not really named in the show.
No.
They're characters. The species themselves rarely play into it in a big way.
You have to be into the toys or something.
Yeah, or if you played a lot of the Star Wars computer games in the 90s, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wookiee you could name.
Yes, a Wookiee. That's absolutely one that I could name.
What is Jabba? Do you know, Brad?
The huts, aren't
He's
they?
a hut.
what is that? I thought the Hutt was the clan. Is it?
I think Jabba the Hutt is the.
I think it's a species. I don't know.
I'm going to look this up.
For the Hutts in the. It's like the Hutt is a cartel or a syndicate.
I always thought. I don't know. I always thought the Hutt was the race of giant slugs.
It is. Yeah, it totally is. Nal Hutta is the home world of their species.
Of course.
So they're Hutts. It's like working for the Earthlings as a syndicate and both species.
How about a Dianoga? I believe there's a band named after that.
Which one is that?
I believe it's the trash monster.
Okay.
I think is the case.
There's cephalopods that live in the trash, yes.
Are there sarlaccs? Are those the species? Or are those the...
They are a species, yeah.
Okay. Think so?
I don't know how many sarlaccs there are, though.
What's Snide Snoodles?
Snoodles is a jizz whaler.
All right.
Of course.
Anyway, you said it wasn't sexy. We got there, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's
if you are wailing when you jizz, see a doctor immediately.
if your wailing lasts for more than 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
So Outlaws, Yes.
I'm sorry, Size Noodles is totally not a jizz whaler. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay,
yeah, it doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Is Max Rebo a jizz whaler?
Oh, wow. Size Noodles, also known as Miss Snooty.
Oh, yeah, to her friends.
Uh-huh.
How does anyone take this franchise seriously? Like, I like Star Wars, but how?
You know who doesn't take it seriously? George Lucas.
That's right. Yeah.
That's my point.
What is it? Miss Snooty?
Miss Snooty is her stage name, apparently.
If you're nasty. I'm at the point where I'm grinding out the last of like everything, you know, before I think I don't even know if I'm near the end here, but I'm at the point where I can just kind of tick off all the check boxes for every ability, every piece of nonsense, every gear upgrade, almost every gear upgrade. There's still a blaster upgrade that is locked out, but pretty much trying to soak up everything I can because I can now. And I generally like we've talked about this before, their presentation of the universe, like their Star Warsiness and the getting around. I feel like there could be more fast travel points. They do give you that speeder bike, which gets you around, but when you're trying to scoop up things, it can be annoying.
The scooping is not what it should be.
Because you have to unlock them, right? Like, don't you have to like liberate a territory or get the faction on your side or something, or like...
For certain ones that are behind faction lines, you do, but there are general ones around the map. But Brad, we talked about this, I think, when the game came out. So easy to just excellent yourself with every faction. I have been on excellent terms with every faction for like 80% of my playtime.
Man, that's...
but then I just stopped doing stuff. I stopped doing missions for the factions because and now I have like these faction missions and I'm like, well, I'll save these in case I fuck it up and need like a quick faction boost.
You're kind of making me realize maybe that's the way to handle that. It's, in fact, maybe that's a gift to people like us.
Yeah.
Because then it frees you up to make whatever decision you want to make in the moment, and I don't have to sit there and like Google which of these dialogue choices is the one that's going to get me the best stuff. Because
it's no dialogue choice.
Because you know you can always just go repair whatever damage you do to the relationship with the choice you make.
So basically, the way that works now that I have a lot of hours in the game is there are three benefits faction wise to doing a mission. There's like 1 times, 2 times, and 3 times the faction rep, right? So if you're in dire straits with a faction, just find a faction mission that gives you 3 times rep with that faction. Usually the trade-off is it pays out less, but who the fuck cares? I have so much money. So like it's like, oh, it gets you 3 times faction rep with the Hutts, but only pays 100 credits versus the one that pays 1,000 credits is only 1 times faction up with the thing. After every single mission, you get your cohort there will call you and be like, okay, I've got another offer. And it'll be like, honor the thing with the original person, or you could just do an alternate faction to it'll every single time will be like, hey, do you want to do this for the Hutts? Or I've got the Pikes have another offer if you just want Pike rep. Again, I'm not exactly sure I didn't spend as much time pre that big patch, so I don't know if they changed some of these things, but getting faction rep super duper easy, maxing it out extremely easy. You can burn through it so quickly, and then the infractions are generally very slight. Like if you run into a faction compound and just start blasting everyone up, you get the same as doing one of those 1 times faction things. So it's like really I go in there now. I'm like, fuck it. I just need to get this intel in here, blast them all. I'll just do another mission for you in a hot second and make it up if I want, because the bars, there's like poor, good, excellent. As long as if you've hit the end of it, you've reached the reward for that. So you can just be in that excellent bar and still get all of the benefits of being excellent because you've already got the max benefit, like gear set that you'll get. And that's what most of the collectibles are in that game. Paint jobs, gear sets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That reputation system feels like that's ripe for the same type of like difficulty customization that you've seen across like practically every other thing in video games last few years. You know what I mean? It's like difficulty modes that are getting broken down into like itemized lists of like, here's your health slider and here's how much damage the enemies will do and here's how often things will drop, you know, like the kind of tailor your experience thing. Like it would almost be cool if they put a slider in there for like faction rep gains and availability of missions and stuff, where you could be like,
or consequence.
Like, I want the decisions to matter in my run, so I'm going to set this to like hard reputation system or whatever.
That might be in there and I'm missing it. It's a good point. I should say I'm playing on the default difficulty, and the rep stuff is very easy to game and very easy. On higher difficulties, maybe whenever you do a different factions mission, maybe the other ones go down. That's not the case here. And it happens occasionally when you have to make narrative choices and they're like, all right, you do this thing, your pike rep is going to go down, but then you just run some missions. And ND5, your buddy in the game, is they go out of their way every time. This has happened like 5 times narratively, where the K is like, oh man, the pikes are going to be super mad. I just blew up their entire base. And ND5 will be like, don't worry, K. Working for the cartels brings risk, and they know this. You'll be okay.
Just go deliver 3 crates of spice. They'll probably be fine.
Yes, like that's how the game works, Kay. But overall, I'm having a good time. When I get bored, I just do a mission, like a narrative mission, usually, or when I run up against like the Metroidvania-ness of it, of like, you need this tool to get this upgrade, and be like, well, fuck, if I need a new tool, I'm just gonna go do the story until I get the tool. So it's been pretty cool. I think I have most of the tools now, which is why I'm soaking everything up.
Has the story held up at all? I feel like I saw a lot of complaints about the story being kind of whatever.
It feels like kind of whatever. I mean, the main thrust of the story, without getting into spoilers, is you're putting a team together to do a job. And so on each planet is some kind of specialized person. The bomb maker, the safe cracker, whatever, droid smith, whatever they call it, the heavy. So, I mean, those are fun. Like you're trying to you're doing those missions, but what you're doing in those really is the same as you're doing everywhere else. Sneak into a base, fight usually what happens is you sneak in and you fight out is usually what happens.
Okay.
For the main missions, almost to a fault, it feels like, yes, I have snuck in. Now I'm going to push this thing to release somebody, and the alarms will go off, and we will now fight our way out. But I am so overpowered in a glorious way that I can just wreck through like everyone. I am not too worried about dying anymore. I have a lot of health. My blasters are all upgraded. The AI is not too smart. So not that big a deal. The problem I'm having is like, I need to find 3 speeder bike races, and they're all randomized. And now I have to go hunt around the maps to go find these damn speeder bike races to get this last bit for an upgrade. There's the card game Sabak in the thing. At first, I was like, this sucks. I usually don't play card games within a game or whatever mini game. But then you learn how to cheat a lot, and I was like, this is actually kind of awesome now, because the cheating mini game is actually kind of fun, and you could just roll these fools because you're apparently the only one cheating at Sabak, which seems unlikely, but you just constantly are picking up multiple cards. You have like magnetic dice. You can't lose, kind of, unless somebody really messes you up. There is a Lando in the game, and maybe one of the worst Lando impressions that I mean, I guess if you're going for Billy D. Williams, I mean, it looks like Billy D. Williams, so I'd expect a Billy D. Williams.
It's very hard to capture the spirit and the vibe of a Billy D. Williams. I feel like Donald Glover did a fairly solid job of it, but almost I don't know that many other people have those chops.
You got to drink a lot of Colt 45. It's I don't know. Yeah, it's like you're right, Alex, but I think I expected somebody out there to be like, you know what, I do a pretty good Billy D. Williams, not only a Billy D. Williams impression, a good Lando impression.
You know why it's hard? Because it's not an outsized personality. Like, it's not him doing some big, broad caricature or something like that. It's just Billy D. Williams being Billy D. Williams.
It really
Billy
is.
D. Williams is just kind of a cool dude.
Just got to be cool.
It's hard to capture that.
Yeah, like I go back and watch his introduction scene in Empire Strikes Back every so often, and just like kind of marvel at how incredibly charming he is in the first like 30 seconds or whatever. It's just like, man.
Was that you've got some nerve showing your face around here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, you got a nice little cameo there. It's a fun game. But it's a checklisty grindy game.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of doing. I've had more fun with the ship combat. Like as the upgrades come in and you become way more powered up, and some would say overpowered, as I would say, I'm actually having a lot more fun because I get to just checklist. Man, I fell asleep last night just driving my spaceship into an asteroid over and over again.
Strong endorsements.
Yep. I was pretty tired last night, but yeah, it's like look, it's one of those like, hey, the game's not asking a lot of me.
Yeah, fair. I fired it up a couple times over the break, but I think I did not make a lot of progress. I just kind of tooled around a little bit. I think I crossed the boundary at some point that was just a little too long to just ease right back into it without having forgotten a bunch of stuff. I just did not invest the time to like remember all the mechanics and remember what I was in the middle of and where the story was at. I do need to get back to it more formally though.
It's like it's average, you know. It's like an average game that I just like dumping time. It's like a time sink game.
That's what those games are. Like that is always what those. I mean, not just the Ubisoft ones, but that Ubisoft model of open world game. That is what they are. They are a thing you plug away at for a long time. You check the boxes. You do the things you're supposed to do, and none of it. I mean, look, when they're good. They're good, but even when they're bad, there is a certain sort of lizard brain satisfaction you still get from that.
And this one is wrapped in some pretty decent Star Wars-ness.
And that's what you're there for, really.
And their environment stuff, the sound effects are good. When you hit the boost on the speeder bike, it's got good Star Wars-y sound effects. That's Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know how much longer I got in it, so we'll see. Maybe I suspect once I put the pedal down on the story, it's going to go pretty quickly. Can't imagine. I've pretty much maxed out all the planets there are. So we'll see. Maybe there's some surprises left. Should we take a quick break? Yes. Yeah. Let's take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk more games. We'll talk the news. There was a CES. If you were paying attention, we'll talk about that all after this break. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Factor. Brad and Alex. Factor.
Delicious.
Okay.
Whoa, man.
Wow. Just right out there.
Right on top of that copy.
They're bringing the food to my door. You bring food to my door, I will eat it. If the food is not delicious, I won't say so.
Dietitian approved?
I mean, it probably is. I don't know. That's not really what I'm worried about. I'm worried about flavor, my friend. And the flavor is there.
Flavor country, I know.
Yeah.
Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. I will also say other lifestyles they're perfect for as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an active, busy lifestyle.
So you don't eat lunch until like 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Just need to get something in you.
Let's say your existence is best described as sedentary. Yes, you can still eat Factor.
I still want a fresh and fully prepared meal. Thank you very much. They've got 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals, and you can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. I think when I got it, I tried their vegetarian options. Also, delicious. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I get in on this? It's 2025. Well, you can eat smart with Factor and get started at factormeals.com/Nextlander50off. That's Nextlander50 OFF. That's code Nextlander50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Nextlander50off 50 OFF at factormeals.com/Nextlander50 50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thanks, Factor. All right, we are back. Brad Shoemaker, what you been playing?
Oh gosh, what are we starting with?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Whatever you got.
I want to hear about both of these games. Let's start with Caves of
Qud.
Qud?
Caves
Qud.
Okay, first of all, there was a surprising amount of television contention around the house over the break.
Okay.
A lot of television shows were getting binged
Okay.
for a variety of reasons. All 5 seasons of Yellowstone, for example, got watched.
Oh, okay. That's a dark time. All right.
And that wasn't even nearly the end of the TV. Anyway, spent a fair amount of time playing small independent games on the personal computer.
Oh, small PC games.
While things like Yellowstone that I am not interested in were being...
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. And I had, for some reason, started evaluating whether or not I am capable of becoming a Caves of Qud sicko.
Qud?
I'm just going to say, for the sake of this conversation, let's just call it Qud.
I looked it up. I literally looked up how to say it, and the developers, best I could find, were like, yeah, say it however you want.
Okay.
There you go.
It's like...
Thanks, guys.
Right? Not super helpful for podcasters, but
yes.
QUD. Caves of Qud.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in development for 17 years, apparently. I knew it had been a long time, but I didn't realize it was that goddamn long until right before this.
I would have guessed a decade if I just guessed.
And yet they never settled on an official pronunciation. 17 years.
Not important.
There must be something of them saying it, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I should try
Maybe they say it differently every time, just to fuck with you.
I'm not sure this game was made by human beings, though. It seems to have emerged from the digital ether or something.
Was it made inside of something like Dwarf Fortress?
Possibly.
Okay.
Maybe. I think it was made in ZZT.
ZZT.
If you remember ZZT.
ZZ Top, yes.
Yes.
Like a very, very old DOS game.
Billy Gibbons made it.
Made out of text.
Jeez.
Kind of like Rogue, actually.
Yeah.
So like Caves of Qud is like it's from, I guess it's from this heritage of like Rogue and ZZT, like games with, it's not made out of literal text, but the graphics are very, I mean, if you look at one screenshot, you'll get what I'm talking about. But it's a giant grid of very tiny, like single frame sprites, meaning they don't animate. Like your character just is a sprite that you move around this tile grid. It's like people are going to look at it and think Dwarf Fortress, but it's not. It's kind of in that vein in a really broad sense. But Dwarf Fortress is like city builder mainly, right?
Yeah.
And this is a like single character RPG. This is more of a rogue like.
Okay.
Again, like Rogue. It's not a rogue like. It's like Rogue.
It's just like Rogue.
Kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it totally makes sense.
But like, again, go look at this if you want to get a sense of exactly what kind of game this is. But it's like, you basically have a GUI where like the game world is part of it, but you've got a giant message log scrolling on the side. And you've got to constantly be reading that message log as you move around because it's constantly telling you what's going on in the world around you.
Oh, okay.
And what you're encountering and what you're stepping on. Because it's that kind of game where like the graphics are so rudimentary, you can kind of get a sense of what you're doing, but there are all kinds of things that are going to happen to you that you're not going to be able to tell from. I mean, these are tiny sprites and tiny tiles. So you really need to see that message log to get a sense of like, oh, I just stepped in bloody, brackish water, or like, oh, that was salt water, or, oh, that's what that thing is moving 2 tiles away from me. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
To what end? What can you do if you've stepped in bloody,
what
brackish water?
So I'm pretty early on. I'm still in the tutorial run. Like the tutorial is shockingly thin, like on purpose, apparently. Like they teach you the very basics of like movement and input and combat. And then they're like, all right, that's it for the tutorial. We'll let you discover things like leveling up and skills on your own.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And like navigating the world. Like I'm currently in a location and I can't go back to the world map because every time I try, it says you're lost. And I'm like, what the fuck does it mean to be lost in this game? How do I get unlost?
That's a great question.
Like there's a lot of like high level concepts in this game that they kind of want you to just figure out. It doesn't have the deep simulation of Dwarf Fortress exactly, but it's in that realm of like, you know, you have hunger, you can be wet and tired, like day night cycle.
Combat?
Yeah, absolutely. It's class based. In fact, I think you pick it's not a race. You pick like what is it? There's 2 types of beings you can pick from, and then you pick like a class on top of that, if that makes sense. I think one of them is like mutated humans, and the other one is, I forget what else it is. But yeah, the combat is like, at the most basic level, the combat is like move your character next to the thing you want to fight and then move into it, like move toward it, and you will attack it every time you run into it.
Okay.
But there's a ton of skills. Like there's a lot of depth in the combat, which I have not tapped very deeply at all. There's a lot in this game. You can like make camp and feed yourself. There seems to be like a lot of alchemy or like mixing of liquids, to make like potions and stuff. And it's one of those games that is like extremely simple to look at, but like clearly has got a tremendous amount of mechanics going on under the hood.
How much Rogue do you remember? Like
I've never really played Rogue.
Honestly. Okay, I watched Ben play a bunch, and that it sounds very Rogue.
If this tells you anything, somebody on the Discord was adding this at game at us, telling you to go dial up Ben and get him to come play this for you.
Okay,
so if that tells you anything, like it very much fits into that same slot as Rogue.
Yeah.
Except, in fact, actually, without having played Rogue, so I can't say this 100% for sure, but my impression of it when I was playing it this morning was it's kind of like Rogue, but open world. It's kind of like, because like Rogue is always just in a dungeon, right?
As far as I could tell, we never got back out.
Generally, yes.
So this is kind of like if Rogue, you could exit that dungeon and there was a gigantic world full of towns and temples and caves and other dungeons and stuff to go do.
Is there an overall objective?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because it's so open-ended. Like I said, the nature of the character you pick is like totally up to you.
And it's a run though, right? Like you die permadeath?
Yes. Well, so yes, there's traditional like permadeath mode. I think there's also a like savable mode, I guess I would say. Like there is, when you start your run, you can choose to play a mode
Iron
that
Man
does let you have some amount of saving capacity.
Okay.
Like it's got story, but it feels like the story is very ambient and kind of procedurally generated along with everything else, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
Like I would believe the character names are being generated and stuff like that, and even probably some dialogue is being stitched together.
Are there NPCs? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like, but they are just as simple as you, so you have to basically go up to them and like talk to them to get any sense of who they are, because they're just tiny little sprites, just like you.
Just like me.
It feels like there's a fair amount of depth. Yeah, like in the world design. Live and drink.
What
is what like that's the kind of common greeting in this world.
Oh, okay.
Live and drink.
Got it. Like rock and stone.
Or yes, kind of like that.
Okay.
I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. It seems cool. It seems awesome for people who are into this kind of thing. But I'm not sure if I'm in. I'm gonna play some more of it and see if it's something that clicks with me over time.
It should come as no surprise that I believe Austin Walker is something of an evangelist for this game.
Or he at least knows people who are. Last I looked on Discord, I don't think he had tried it, but that was months ago. But he definitely like knows people who are. Like,
I've gone deep on it.
It very much feels like a game for people who are into tabletop and like are already used to like using your imagination to fill out the world around you, or the kind of the story and role playing that you're doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's cool though. I will say it has made me feel very good about insisting on sticking with keyboards with numpads. Speaking of sickos, the keyboard minimalists out there, that are down to like 65% keyboards and stuff, who will tell you that the numpad is a tool of Satan or whatever. I like 100% keyboard. Okay, 100%.
Do you like separation between your numpad?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you want dedicated arrow keys?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing that up is that you can play this with a mouse, and I think it's even got gamepad support, but the keyboard controls are very numpad centric.
Okay. If
that tells you what kind of game this is.
Yeah.
The keyboard controls, it's like best played on a keyboard with the numpad, if you have one. It's very cool. Like I totally get why people are super into it. I'm not sure if I'm going to fall that deep into it or not, but
I love that these types of games are still being made.
Yeah, totally.
Caves of Qud. Is it
something? Qud is the most fun way to say it.
Qud. Is it out or early access?
Yeah, it 1.0 came out in December.
Okay. All right, out now. Yeah. Caves of Qud. The other game, Brad, I really want to hear about that I had seen but did not play is another 3-letter one. LOK.
LOK. I guess LOK. However you want to say it, I guess. LOK Digital.
LOK Digital.
LOK Digital. This got announced. It was right around the Game Awards. It was like there was some other was it Day of the Devs? This might have gotten announced the Day of the Devs, the
Okay.
day of the Game Awards, and then I guess got released as it was announced. It's digital because there is a book called LOK, apparently. It's like a book of puzzles called LOK,
Mhm.
and they have now made a computer game out of it.
Yes.
Chose to call it LOK Digital,
It's great.
which I find really funny for some reason. It's like a tile-based word puzzle game. This is hard to explain. You'd get it in 10 minutes if you played it.
Okay, I did read descriptions of it from people, and it was like you said, people who had played some of the physical version of
Like
it,
the
and like
book,
tried
yeah.
this. Yeah.
I'm actually just going to read. Learn a cryptic language of world-changing words and master their mind-bending effects. So like every set of puzzles, every like world or whatever has a new word. They're all nonsense words. It's like lock, and then ta, and tlack, I think is maybe one. I can't remember. I'm not super far in.
Okay.
Every word has a power associated with it in terms of how you affect the tiles on the board. So like lock, the first one, if you highlight the word lock, L-O-K, in order, that gives you the ability to then fill in one other tile on the board.
Okay.
And I believe in the case of lock, the tile can be anywhere on the board, but there are a lot of, like, adjacency is a huge thing in this game where a lot of things have to be adjacent to the word you just filled in. But if you filled in tiles in between something, those tiles effectively no longer exist. So like if you filled in a vertical lock,
Yeah.
and then I think the second word is tlack. I can't remember. It's been a little bit since I played it, but if that vertical lock is filled in the middle of a different word, that vertical column is no longer exists, and now
They're seen as touching.
Yeah, even though they're technically split, those horizontal letters are now considered adjacent. So then you can fill those in.
Okay.
So there's a ton of playing around with spatial kind of relationships, like filling things in creatively to then be able to bridge other words and using each word's associated ability, like power, to manipulate the board. And the ultimate goal of each puzzle is just to fill in every square on the board.
Are there undos? Can you like?
You can literally like right click the mouse to undo your last move.
Okay, that's great.
It's
So
super,
it's not punishing.
super quick. Absolutely not.
Okay, great.
Now, like every world has got like 3 or 4 bonus puzzles. If you beat the first like 8 or 9, you can move on to the next word.
Okay.
If you want, but you can hang out and do the really hard ones as well. It's super clever. It's really neat.
Would you say it's like is it like a word puzzle game, or
Kinda? I mean, not in the sense that you're using real English words and that they certainly don't mean anything. It's more like the words are puzzle elements, I guess, if that distinction makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not like really decoding or deciphering anything.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
No, it's 100% a.
That's what I was confused about. Okay.
Yeah, but they never tell you what any of the words do. I don't know if that was clear or not, but they even lock, even the tutorial word, they don't tell you anything about what it does. They make you just get in there and start touching tiles.
Oh, that's kind of neat. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually like a huge part of the puzzle solving in the game. Is each time you get a new word, you have to just play around with it until you figure out what it does.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
So there's a huge amount of intuiting how things work, which is really satisfying.
It's odd that this feels like such a mobile
game. I was just about to open a tab here and make sure it's not on mobile because it's 10,000% a mobile friendly design.
Yeah.
It looks like it actually totally is on the App Store.
Oh,
no, it's not. I'm sorry. Expected January 23rd.
Oh, soon.
Yes, so it will be on. Soon. It will be on iOS at least. I don't know about Android, but it will be at least on iOS in like 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, it feels like when I saw it, and from your description of it, seems like a thing you would drag your finger around.
Yeah, 100%. That's basically how you play it with a mouse, is just clicking and dragging across.
Yeah. LOK Digital, LOK Digital, LOK.
Yeah.
Loked up.
Yep.
Loked up. And Caves of Qud.
Yep. I dabbled with some other stuff we don't really need to get into too deeply, like Peglin and Ballionaire.
Oh, Ballionaire! I played some of that on the stream.
Some like from the genre, the ever-present genre of thing, but a roguelike. Those games are kind of both pachinko but a roguelike.
When I played Ballionaire, I played it recently again. That's on that Star Wars stream I talked about earlier. At first, it did not make a great first initial impression on me. It seemed like something that felt like a little slapped together. But once once you start getting into it, it is very much a pachinko. The ball starts at the top, or peggle-like, or whatever you want. Ball is dropped from the top. At its most basic core, it hits a bunch of pegs and exits the bottom of the...
Yeah, it's a ball pegger.
Yeah, it's a ball pegger. You drop it in, and it reaches the bottom there.
Yeah, pachinko. More or less.
Ball pegger.
Ball pegger. Jizz whaler. So, and in this, you're inserting power-ups, in at least Ballionaire, you're inserting power-ups into the field to try and get high scores in kind of what feels like a cross between a pachinko, a Balatro, and a Vampire Survivors, because things really escalate in a way that the ball just starts going bananas between all, like you get multi-ball, suddenly the ball's flying left to right on the surfboard or whatever. Stuff pops off in ways where you're getting multipliers and things are just happening because you have to, I almost want to say meet an ante, but you have to reach this bar to move on to the next level.
Like every round you have to get now you have to earn $5,000 in 5 moves or something.
Yes.
Like that.
And so things keep escalating, but so does the nonsense and the comboing of the board. And then between games, you can spend some currency to get new items for your board.
So does the board never reset until you lose the run?
So you can remove certain things from the board and replace them, but not a reset, not a hard reset. As far as I played, but some items combo with you removing things. Right. From the board as well.
I didn't play a ton of it, but I did see some items, would get expended or whatever. But the point is, I can imagine by the end of a run, if every peg on the entire board has been replaced with some kind of power up, it just being complete pandemonium.
So it's bananas too, because it's clever and bananas because there are certain power ups you want to put that don't get hit. So there's a great one that I kept buying over and over again. These stopwatches that for every second or amount of time that it's on the board not being hit, it's accruing money. And then when the ball hits it, you cash out that thing. So you kind of want to set that in a spot where it's not going to get hit easily, but that you might hit eventually. And so it really, like I said, not a great initial impression, but after my first run, I was like, man, I totally get this. This is... Yeah, make the numbers go up a lot.
Mm-hmm. That one also feels super mobile ready.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's on iOS or not. I think it totally is.
Ballionaire.
Ballionaire.
It looks like it is.
It definitely is in that vein of, like I said, Balatros and Vampire Survivors. Maybe not of the same caliber, but in that. Whatever that genre might be of post.
Oh, it's the make your brain tingle genre.
Yeah, but not. I hate to say this about Balatro because I do feel like Balatro is not of this. Oh, I don't know if Ballionaire is a single dev, but it's got that vibe, right? This isn't somebody polishing for years and years and years on this thing. The concept is solid. The reason I don't say Balatro is because Balatro's got an pretty awesome UI and presentation.
There's
and music,
an incredible amount of pizzazz.
Yeah.
In I watched, we don't need to get down this rabbit hole. I watched a YouTube video over the break that was it was a bit of a sensationalist headline. It was the biggest game of the year was made in Lua, which is Lua is kind of a pretty relatively simple programming language. They're kind of trying to bait you into being how do they make this game in this simple language? But it actually gets into a lot of depth about how much work they put into the way the cards animate.
Okay.
And what the visual feedback is of what's happening on the screen, which is secretly a huge part of, I think, why that game is so satisfying.
Oh, totally.
Didn't Bethesda have a lot of Lua stuff left over in their engine for a long, long time?
Yeah, Lua is super common as a scripting language on top of lower level code in video games. WoW mods and UI mods were made in Lua for a long time.
Great.
For example. The Playdate, Panic's Playdate, the little yellow with crank thing.
Yeah.
You can write games in C or Lua for that thing.
Okay.
For example.
Anyway, but Ballionaire, very cool. My time with it. Yes, neat is definitely a thing. Brad, anything else you want to mention before?
That's pretty much the stuff I dug into with any determination.
Terminator. Alex Navarro, where do you want to start? Indiana Jones. You played some more of that?
I did, yeah. I mean, that's really the only game I would say that I advanced from this year. Like the other stuff I played is just more of that Vampire Survivors Castlevania DLC because there's so many fucking characters to unlock in that. It takes for fucking ever. And I'm trying not to cheat by just entering passwords for all those characters. I'd like to actually achieve the thing I need to do to beat them.
I feel we don't need to get into Vampire Survivors. I feel like they hit diminishing returns on too many characters in that game at some point. The more characters I see unlocking, kind of the less I want to play it for some reason. Or there's a point where it's just okay, this is kind of too many different characters.
And I mean, some of them are just, reskins or slightly different abilities versions of other characters. But I mean, that's also kind of the joke is they just keep just jamming that game full of stuff and characters and things, and they will just never stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, Indiana Jones is probably the one I made the most actual advancement on. I have not beaten that game, but I did get through the next big area, which is the Giza map. And then I kind of got to the next area, which is more of a linear progression to the next thing, which is where you're just kind of climbing through the Himalayas. But the Giza map, pretty good. Pretty fun. Definitely still extremely lousy with stuff to find, but I think it's just a slightly more interesting area to explore than that Vatican map.
So is the gameplay still part stealthy, part action? Is it pretty much, if I'm still in the Vatican and just doing a lot of the side missions.
You will never leave the Vatican if you don't leave the Vatican.
If there's nothing changes drastically in the gameplay, I assume.
Not at least from what I've played so far. It's still a lot of you are in this big open area. You are kind of going to different areas. Sometimes you have to stealth it. Sometimes you don't. You are interacting with characters. You are trying to, punch Nazis or whip them or whatever you need to do.
Have you fired your pistol?
I don't. If I have, I don't really remember it.
Okay.
So I maybe I actually haven't. I don't know.
And I almost feel like they could have come out at some point before that game came out and just said that to paint a more accurate picture of what this game was going to be. They flat out could have been hey, you could beat this whole game without firing your gun. I mean, I don't know if that's actually the case or not, but if it is, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen people who said they did or pretty damn close to it. But if they had kind of said hey, you don't need to shoot a gun in this game if you don't want to. This is that kind of game. You've got options about how you want to play this. That would have sent a message. Not that game is having a hard time gaining purchase in the market or whatever.
No.
Seems like it's doing very well.
Yeah, it's doing well, and I mean, it's justified. It is a cool game. I've had a little more trouble just going back to it every single night, but I feel like when I do sit down, I want to stay there for a while and play for good stretches. So it's cool, man. I don't love every single design choice in that game, but I think the core conceit of what they're trying to do here with these big open environments and just plugging away at all the hidden doodads and things in them is very satisfying. And yeah, the Nazi punching, it's a little floaty, but it's floaty in the way that all machine games kind of are. So it's forgivable and the scenarios are satisfying. That's all I'm really asking for.
I think what I'm currently doing, and I need to break out of the Vatican and stop collecting medicine bottles, I think, for the nurse who was there. Somebody, there's a lot of people.
I mean, look, I kind of gave up on a few, I was definitely, the first time I was in the Vatican, or when I started in the Vatican, I was dead set on, I'm going to complete all the objectives here. And then when I got to the point where I was one big mission objective away, and I realized all I had left was that nurse shit and a few other very small things, I was I would rather move on.
Can you go back?
I don't know. I assume at some point you can, maybe either in a New Game Plus or there's something where you can go back and recollect that stuff, but I have just been going forward.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll jump back in and do that. That was one of the things I was thinking about doing during the break, and then I satisfied myself with Satisfactory. But after Star Wars, look, we just did our Planorama. I don't think there's too much in January that's going to be chewing up my time.
It's not going to be a busy month.
Yeah, if you got games to catch up on from last year, you've got about a month and change to do it.
Never been a better time.
Yeah, so Indiana Jones might take up some of that time. I don't think it's well, you tell me, or I'll check back in with you. If you don't go and 100% it, is it maybe not that long?
I think the thing is, if you sit there and do the main side objectives that aren't just the collectathon stuff, and you just find kind of the big hidden stuff that you want to find, I bet that game is still pretty lengthy because it feels like I'm maybe halfway through at most.
Do you find yourself, even with what you're doing, which is not every little thing, having enough currency for the upgrades, or are you always behind?
I don't feel behind, but that's to say, I am still spending time in these areas. I'm doing a lot. I did a lot in Giza, and I did a lot in the Vatican. I'm just not trying to do everything.
Everything, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's like anything that seems like it is a vaguely story-related side quest, I'm doing it.
Right, like if you've got a marker on your map, and you can go there. Right.
If there's a character I have actually like had a conversation with that wants me to do something, I usually will do it.
Right. But you're not like following along with a guide for 100%ing.
No, I don't care about that. Like that's not what I'm trying to do here. But it's a cool game. I'm having fun with it. I'm not sure it would have made my top 10 overall. Maybe some of those later levels would change my mind. We were talking about that during our discussion. Will Indiana Jones be in there? Should we talk about it for next year? I think it's maybe just on the outside looking in for me, but it is really good.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to it and spend some more time with it. I probably should just move out of the Vatican.
Yeah, you should leave the Vatican. It doesn't have to be the hinterlands. It's not actually that much longer than I think some of these other areas. It's just that, it's not really heavy on trying to tell you need to go.
I just, I like kind of like the gameplay,
Like, well, you can do more of that just in a different location.
other places. Yeah. I think, like I said last time, I'm not too far into it, but I've spent a lot of time in that place, and I'm not even up to where you were when we did the stream. I haven't gotten the lady with the Zeppelin yet. So.
Let me know how you do when you get to the big rotatey puzzle near the end of the Vatican, because that was the thing I ended up spending the most time on.
Okay.
I'm not good at rotation puzzles. Like, something about my brain chemistry doesn't like to figure that stuff out. So I spent a really long time rotating that shit basically the same way over and over again without realizing it.
Okay. I will let you know.
Yeah, you'll know. It's a fountain. You'll know when you're there.
Okay, the rotating fountain. That's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. You're talking about the Great Circle, rotating the Great Circle.
Yeah. It's not that great.
Not that wasn't that.
It's maybe the one puzzle I've been a little bit like, all right, come on, guys.
Well, if there's not anything else, or if there's anything else, let me know. Otherwise, we'll take a break.
I mean, look, I spent more time playing a little Marvel Rivals. I don't know that game is going to stick for me, but it's a fun thing to occasionally just pop in once a week and just say, hey, how many, did they add 17 characters or 25 characters since the last time I played this?
I get the sense that thing is just fuck off huge now.
Yeah, it's doing really well.
I mean, it's like at the top of the Steam list every time I look, and like there are memes and fan art and all kinds of, and like arguments about it everywhere I look on social media. Like, it just seems like the thing people are playing. I mean, algorithms are what they are, but that's what I'm seeing everywhere right now.
I'm slightly exaggerating about the number of characters, but they have a cadence that is way more often than something like an Overwatch. Like, they have a whole roadmap, and like the whole Fantastic Four is up right now. I think Mr. Fantastic is about to launch, and then they have like Invisible Woman gameplay out there if you want to see it. They seem like they are going to be adding a lot to that game way faster than, let's say, Blizzard was.
Yeah, it's that's bananas.
Yeah,
it's bananas. It's
doing very, very well. I also played a bunch more Clone Hero after that stream on at the end of the year, just because I needed to do something physical on this break, and that was kind of my one. I was like, well, I've already got this all set up. I might as well just keep playing, and so I've just continued to play illegal music in that game.
When are you going to start charting stuff?
Okay, so here's the thing. I did download one of the charting tools that people use. And the thing of it is, it's actually really easy to do. The problem I have is that my ears are such that it is really hard for me to tell sometimes if there's like a ghost note in there, if there's like an extra hi-hat in there in the mix of like a larger song. You give me an isolated drum track, I can work with that shit, no problem. Yeah. But in the mix of like, let's just say a loud rock song, I sometimes feel like I'm missing notes or I'm unable to. I'm sure if I just sat there and drilled down on it and listened and spent hours on one track, I could do it, but you know what my patience level is, and I think I'm just not there yet.
Can you if you chart something, can you make it downloadable and editable by other people to
any chart that you download is technically editable by someone else.
It is. Okay.
As long as it's edited in one of those tools, you can do it.
Okay, so you can put it up and be like, "Hey, here's my stab at this thing. Feel free to go in and
So the thing I tried was someone, when that thing first launched, charted Welcome to the Jungle and a bunch of like early Guns N' Roses stuff, and they did a kind of not great job, but it was literally like the first songs anyone was putting out in that game, so I totally forgive it. So I wanted to go in and sort of rechart some of it to see if it worked. The problem was I think some of those very early tracks were charted in different tool sets, so they don't import super well. And sometimes when you try to export them out, they're like, "What did you just do?"
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I think it's a cool community tool. Yeah. And
Wildly illegal, but what are you gonna
do? What?
What's illegal is
what is illegal?
Charts. The charts. Putting the song into a file and making it uploadable is technically illegal.
So if look, I don't want to spend too much time here, but if you just put the chart up and had to provide the song yourself,
it's distinctly possible you could get around some kind of legal thing, but no one does that. Everyone just shoves the song in there because nobody actually wants to do that legwork.
Yeah, I guess also you might have a slightly different time.
Yeah, that's the thing is that there's timing involved. Yeah. So like it needs to match whatever track they were editing to.
If you've got like a second of buffer in the beginning or
that's going to break everything.
Right? Yeah. All right. I was thinking more like, could you do like a riff track style thing of just put the chart and then you provide your own my
own song file?
Yeah.
But if you want to sit there and do the lineup, you could probably make that work, but I think that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get really crazy with it, and I don't know what the number is on CDs. You know how like every CD that's ever been released has like a unique identifier number?
Oh, sure.
Like for like different issues of albums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could, if you wanted to get really crazy, you could be like, okay, if you pull the track from this issue of this album, this exact disc, it'll match up perfectly or whatever.
But you probably, again, this is maybe beyond. Well, this is absolutely beyond my technical knowledge. I wonder even if you could get slight millisecond or sub-second delays using a different encoding when you rip it and save your file. Like, hey, you need to use this ripper, use this when you pull it from the thing. It needs to be in this format, otherwise, you could be off. Anyway, I see.
Don't ask me why I know this, because I won't tell you, but I will say that there is certain software out there these days that will ensure you always get the exact encode and rip of a CD or audio track that is on the CD. Like it is supposed to be exact as possible, and they have like log files that will like verify that everything does exactly what it's supposed to. Test and copy type shit. And again, I don't know this. There are no reasons why I would know this.
It's like clear meme. You need to go and audit my files to make sure I have everything.
Yeah.
For CDs though,
you want those 100% logs, baby. And
what
I'm not
a weird
tell
digital
you why.
world. I had no idea that existed. Like you're vetting, you're auditing your CD collection to make sure you have 100% of the right stuff. That's wild.
Well, it's 100% of the right rip from that CD. Yeah.
Bananas. Okay. All right.
Look, man, people are fucking serious about this shit.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about our digital future and the news, some news from CES right after this. Stick around. And we are back. And never check the news between breaks. That's what
I would
learned.
not do that.
Shout out to everyone who is dealing with stuff in LA right now.
Seems bad.
It's real bad.
Check the page over there, and seems real bad. So I hope everybody's dealing the best they can.
Yeah. On
to the news, and there is like a surprising lot of it, not just because of CES, like CES not even being the biggest thing. Maybe I don't know, Brad, is this a corollary to what's going on?
Yeah. Well, it depends on which one you're talking about, but
kind of talking about all of it, but mostly this Switch 2 stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of fell out there, didn't it?
There wasn't supposed to be any Switch 2 news at CES.
And officially,
shout out to the Consumer Electronics Show for never letting the tech press rest for even a week.
Nope.
Like I only covered CES in person a few times, I guess, not that often, but it was always like a couple days for us, as opposed to an entire week. Like literally the day you're back from New Year's, you're heading to Las Vegas for this thing. Anyway, Switch 2 feels like it's all but announced at this point.
The amount of information on there that seems like the veracity is not really in question for some of it.
Yeah.
It seems as legitimate as I think you could get without an official Nintendo announcement. Is basically tantamount to a Nintendo announcement.
Like pretty close, yeah. I mean, like, specs have been out there for months, and those seemed pretty reliable. Part of the reason this seems like such a big deal is because over the break, other leaks were happening before. And this isn't even a leak. This is a company showing up to CES and officially saying this at their booth.
So
how is this allowed to happen?
Let's run through this.
Putting a video on their website. The accessory manufacturer Genki, who I guess I'm familiar with.
I'm familiar with them. I know their stuff.
I think I've heard them before. I believe it's a charging dock for what will be the new Joy-Cons in the new Switch. And they just straight up are like, on their website, there is a video now where you can just very clearly see what the new Joy-Cons look like and how they attach. It looks like that whole magnetic attachment system is totally a thing based on these videos.
I mean, I'll take you. I think you're underselling it here. It's the website. It's like hardly even a video. It is just you load the website. And
it's just there.
It's like a giant like background embed video on the site when you go there. And they basically have a render of what the Switch looks like. And like, to be fair, it looks like a Switch. Like, not a lot of surprises. I guess the other accessory is like some kind of, it's like a set of grips and maybe a shell that goes over.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because we haven't seen the actual Switch. Like, first of all, GenkiThings.com. Oh, wait a minute. No.
What?
This isn't that Genki, is it?
You're going to have to elaborate.
Hang on. It's not the makers of the... No, I'm sorry. I think I might be mixing them up with a different Switch.
Like accessory maker?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm quickly looking through their accessories. No, I think I am thinking... Nope, it's totally the... Wow.
Who is it?
I have one of their products.
Okay.
Genki, the makers of the Covert Dock, which is basically a tiny little charging brick that also doubles as a Switch dock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I have one of. That's them. Wow.
Well,
interesting.
How is it?
It's fine.
Okay.
It looks like a little iPhone charger, but it's got an HDMI and a USB-C port in it, and you can use it as a Switch dock as well as a charger. It's awesome. Anyway, I guess Genki has just decided to blow the doors off of this whole thing. It's a shell, to be clear. We don't know what the real Switch looks like, so it's hard to say where the Switch ends and the shell begins in this video, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like a shell that goes around maybe the whole Switch and adds like grips to the back and maybe Joy-Con covers or something. It's hard to say.
Hard to say.
But the upshot is, minus whatever their like add-on grip shell accessory stuff is in this video, you're kind of just looking at a video of what the Switch 2 is going to look like.
And I guess I need to repeat the question here. How was this allowed to happen? Because this is the kind of thing that when you are in these meetings with Nintendo, I feel like the first thing they tell you is, hey, if you ever do this, we will take your fucking head.
Also, I feel like I need to read the copy under this video. It's GenkiThings.com is their website. /pages/NS2_accessories.
Uh-huh.
The next evolution in gaming is coming. We're working on something extraordinary for the next handheld.
So we don't know what this is for.
But I mean, the word Nintendo does not appear in this product listing at all.
NS2.
And it could be anything.
But in this render, they show it being inserted into a dock that has a big fat 2 on the front of it.
Yeah. Also, it's got, I think, on the dock, doesn't it also have like that Switch logo, that like honeycomb? Oh, that's the Genki logo.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
But anyway...
Well, look, all right.
So like,
this is bananas, but Alex, I'll give you a maybe.
Yeah, you weren't there. I don't know what you don't have an answer. I realize that. But
look, I'm Genki CEO. We've got CES. We've got product to move. Nintendo's pushed this thing up and down. I got to make money. This is a big thing. We're making accessories. We're gonna miss this window in CES. Make your fucking announcement, Nintendo, or we're going to show product. We've got people coming to the booth.
Well, they're in luck then, because they also brought a physical mock-up of this thing. There are videos on social media from the Genki booth of them holding what has to be some kind of prototype thing, but it's literally the new Switch. Like, it's
not a time to be alive.
Well,
it's not a functional one, but it's the size.
It's the model home version.
It's like the size and shape of it, so they can show off how their accessories attach to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's straight up videos now of somebody must have had their original Switch with them, because now they've got people holding their real Switch 1 up next to this thing. So you can see exactly how big it is compared to the old Switch. Like, it's crazy. And this is all coming on, like I said, off the back of over the holiday, shots of the internals of this thing got out there, which basically allowed people more or less to verify that all the specs that have been floating around are real. A patent was also filed about upscaling on this thing, like AI upscaling, which assuredly is DLSS. So it's like kind of everything we've heard about this thing over the months seems to be proving true. And so, yeah, when is this? Oh, can't believe we forgot to mention probably the actual most pertinent detail, which is that Genki says this thing's coming out in April.
Right. Yes, a release month. So, Nintendo, what are we doing?
Yeah, the reveal has got to be like any day now, right? Like,
it's got to be within the next month or two.
What are they doing?
Look, I'm not. This is not me being an apologist. I agree. They probably should have gotten out there and said something before Genki just got out there and was like, yo, check this shit out. But that said, Nintendo usually has a plan for these sorts of things. There's a reason for it. Whether it's a good reason or not, I'm not here to say. But I do feel like there is got to be some notion of this is why we're waiting this long.
I would hope so. I mean, this is the first console they've announced since like modern leak culture really got going in the way that it has, to the point that even Apple can't keep announcements secret anymore. So maybe they just weren't prepared for how hard it would be.
This is really something.
For a video game console for sure. But also, if it's coming out in April, this is a way shorter announce to release cycle than even the Switch was, which I think was like
6 months at most.
6-ish months. I think came out in March. And I want to say the first tease was like October, maybe.
Maybe they're having supply chain issues, or just something mundane is.
Or
I don't think well, go ahead.
Well, I'll throw this idea out there. Maybe they are absolutely, deeply, intensely convinced that it doesn't matter when they announce this thing, because as soon as they do and they put a date on it, they know everyone will buy it.
Oh, they're 100% right about that. Like, they will sell as many of these things as they can make.
Yeah.
Maybe they're actually more plugged into the modern ecosystem than we give them credit for, because they realize that these press announcements don't fucking matter.
Unless they do something crazy like price it at $500, which I'm not expecting in it at all, but I'm just that's the only thing I can think of that would stop this thing from selling out everywhere.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the thing was a little more expensive than the Switch 1 was at launch, but they can't go crazy with that.
Yeah, I'm guessing $399 probably.
Look, get this thing out there before it gets a big tariff on it, okay? I need to get my Switch 2,
That might be the other thing.
Seriously.
So Brad, is there stuff in here that you were surprised about? I know there's the big buttons.
This has been rumored for a while, but people are, who knows if this is real, but people are putting two and two together now about this. There's like an optical sensor on the inside of one of the Joy-Cons. And now people, I guess there are also like pads, like kind of slidey, Teflon-y sort of friction pads, like on the bottom of your mouse on there, which I guess you can kind of see in these photos.
The one that they're holding here,
People are theorizing this is going to let you hold this thing sort of, not like vertically, but I guess like putting an edge down, the edge that would connect the Switch down and use it like a mouse. Which would not be unheard of. I mean, I could totally see them putting something like that in there.
I
mean, will it ever get used for anything? Who knows? But
yeah,
it's probably not super expensive to include something like that at this point.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe that raises questions about what the system interface for that thing is like. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I hadn't seen that. That's cool, I guess.
That's kind of the one big thing that has really been bubbling up in the last few days. It's mostly it's like verification of everything that has been rumored for, again, months now.
A long time.
Those magnetic locks, there's a button to release them, it looks like. That's, I guess, how that's going to work. The kind of enlarged shoulder buttons, the, like you said, the optical thing. I'm just going through the things from these.
There's not much else like new in terms of like data points or details. It's mostly just like you can see pretty clearly exactly what this thing is now.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. This is the way this stuff is getting out there.
I mean, there'll still be plenty of stuff to talk about when they unveil it. Like primarily like, hey, here are the launch games. Like,
yeah, that's really the big one.
Like they've got to have launch game stuff. There's backwards compatibility stuff to talk about, and how they're going to like get you better versions of Zelda and stuff. You know, and whether you'll pay for that or not. There's like
all their services.
Yeah, there's like what the system interface is going to look like. What's going on with the eShop? Like, is there any kind of like progress or achievement tracking stuff? Finally, now, please.
We still haven't seen the dock, you know.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, there's a mock-up of a dock on this Genki page, but I don't know if that's like the real thing or not.
It's a concept of a dock.
Anyway, they just need to get this done. Like, just do it next week. Like, come on.
Do you think
nothing's going on right now?
And for the sake of us specifically, give us at least a few days heads up so we can really plan a stream.
Like 48 hours minimum, please.
Do you think we get something before February?
I would hope so.
Yeah.
God help us if not.
I'm going to tell you right now, I actually bet not.
Okay.
I mean,
I bet February is when it happens.
Originally they committed to by the end of March. So we don't have a lot of time until then.
Maybe they're just trying to get through whatever switches are in the channel.
I really don't know what. I mean, it could be software. Like, it could be like they're just like scrambling to get the games ready enough to show and get that whole presentation ironed out.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Switch 2 stuff. I mean, hard to even call it rumors at this point. It feels pretty legit, though. Could all just be smoke and mirrors. We don't know. Maybe a thing that looks nothing like that, which would be a real laugh on Genki. To be like, shit, man. I'm gonna be kind of bummed if they straight up called it the Switch 2. Yeah, same here.
I was really hoping for something more creative than that, but
it's the next big console. Brad, that's not the only thing gaming wise out of or surprise out of CS.
Yeah, if we're talking about the other handheld news. I mean, we did expect something like this was coming. We talked about late last year. Valve rolled out some new branding guidelines for the Steam Deck, or for Steam in general, and there was a powered by Steam OS logo in there, if you remember, which basically made it pretty clear that there were going to be like kind of non-Steam Decks coming out. Lenovo has announced the first one of those at CES. It's the Legion Go S. Is the first handheld to run Steam OS that is not a Steam Deck, essentially.
Yeah.
It's $499. It's like better than a Steam Deck in some ways, and maybe not as good in others.
Oh, it always is like that.
Like the screen is higher resolution and higher refresh than the Steam Deck, but it's not OLED. I don't know if it does HDR. I didn't see anything about HDR in the write-up.
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that either.
Which the current Steam Deck OLED has good HDR on it, so that may be a differentiator. It's got different hardware in it, but it seems like it might be roughly in the ballpark of the same performance, but it might be faster than a Steam Deck. Same basic idea, though. Like, it doesn't have touchpads on it also. It does not have like the
haptic pad,
the mousy touchpad kind of thing that a Steam Deck has. Honestly, like, I mean, it's interesting to see this. Like, they're also shipping a Windows version that's more expensive, by the way, with better hardware.
Oh, okay, interesting.
For what that's worth, but I believe this thing is cheaper than a Steam Deck OLED. It's not cheaper than the entry level LCD Steam Deck that's still available, but I believe it is like $50 less than the cheapest OLED Steam Deck. Anyway, the most interesting thing that has come out of this is they talked to Valve. I think it was The Verge that got this quote from. Yeah, The Verge got this quote from Valve that they're basically saying that it's one Steam OS for everything. Like Steam Deck will not get features that the third-party handhelds do not get.
Got it.
Like we're doing the same Steam OS for every handheld that is powered by Steam OS. So like if you buy one of these, you're going to get all the same features software-wise that a real Steam Deck would. Which, like, that seems like a good thing. Like the Steam OS platform is incredibly effective and successful so far. So like more hardware options to get in on that ecosystem just seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
Brad, there was a bit in that article you sent around from The Verge about the Z2 chip.
Yeah, I'm not super well versed in like that's a newer AMD APU, but it sounds like it's kind of cut down, or the one that's going into this thing is maybe not too far off in capabilities from what's in the Steam Deck. But it is a newer chip than what's in the Steam Deck. Yeah, because
I guess the part that just jumped out at me was the part where Valve was like, or seemed to be like, about the Z2. It's like not as far a leap as maybe they thought at the bottom of that article.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was something weird about that chip or the hopes were not met.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows yet until this thing is out exactly how fast it'll be.
Or like how much battery life it'll save.
Yeah, it sounds like you might be able to like optionally raise the performance on this thing at the cost of shorter battery life.
Well, I think more Steam Deck likes is a great thing for the market. I think.
It's so clearly the way things are going. I saw somebody from Microsoft was on some panel and they kind of paid lip service to like improving Windows for gaming on handhelds. because like it sucks right now. But they were basically saying like, oh, we're going to bring the best of Xbox to like the Windows handheld experience going forward.
Pardon my ignorance, but is there a current Windows for handheld?
No, that's the whole thing. I'm sure they've been working on it for a while, but it does feel like they are lagging pretty hard considering how good SteamOS has gotten.
Bring Metro back. Don't bring Metro back. Do not do that. Windows 8. Does everybody remember Windows 8?
Yeah.
I mean, to be clear, you can run current desktop Windows on these handhelds just fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're shipping a Windows version of this Lenovo, but it's not the ideal handheld gaming tailored experience that SteamOS is.
So are people putting do people sideload like a Windows onto their Steam Decks, or they mostly
I mean, I wouldn't even call it sideloading in the sense that you're having to circumvent anything. It's fully just supported by Valve. They don't care. They just give you the option right out of the box to put Windows on it instead. If you want.
It could boot to Windows or Steam OS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because ultimately they just want to sell games on Steam. However they have to do that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
more price options, different.
It's a nice step forward. Also, it's also a way for potentially people who don't want to wait for the next, like the Steam Deck 2 to potentially get a better handheld sooner.
Yeah. If
other companies are showing up more often with better hardware.
And and if it's the integrated ecosystem of Steam OS, then that makes a lot of sense. So you're having parity with the other devices.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Take another steps forward here. Nvidia taking a break. Well, actually, I was going to say taking a break from fanning its AI fires with all its money, but nope. Really, this is probably in promotion of more AI cards.
Yeah, no, I watched the whole Jensen Huang keynote the other night, and it was like 15 minutes of graphics cards and the rest about like autonomous vehicles and like AI automation of like manufacturing and supply.
AI everything?
Yeah. Yes.
AI routers.
Yes. Including like AI graphics cards, frankly. Like they announced the 50 series cards, the 50 70 through 90 have been announced. They are starting to come out by the end of the month. We don't need to get too deep into stuff here, like specs wise, but like the big takeaways are they are not as expensive as they were rumored to be, and also like all of the improvements are in AI.
Yeah,
like
everything.
It's looking like, and they kind of obfuscated the performance increase. Like they did not come out with any raw numbers, so like minus the new AI features. There's no hard data yet to look at about like how fast these things are on top of the previous generation, but it seems like it might be a fairly modest improvement there, meaning without all the DLSS stuff turned on.
Right.
But like the big performance and feature improvements are all machine learning / AI based here.
And those are those specific cores that are meant to handle
it's
whatever?
It's more of the machine learning hardware that they have gotten so good at making.
Okay.
To the point that they're rapidly, literally taking over human civilization.
And probably more RAM on the cards?
Yes, no, like that's kind of a thing they have taken criticism for the last like 2 card generations, is that they're pretty skimpy about the amount of VRAM they put on these things.
Which is interesting considering what a hog a lot of like the visual like stable diffusions are for RAM.
Yeah, I could just run through the price and configuration stuff really quick. Like the big thing here is these cards are way cheaper than people thought they were going to be.
I was genuinely kind of shocked by the pricing.
Yeah, by anywhere from like $200 to $500 cheaper than people were expecting.
Like they're still expensive, but they are not what you would have expected considering the last run.
Yeah, but like it's actually for Nvidia, by Nvidia standards, a couple of these are like shockingly cheap. I mean, again, like $549 is the cheapest one for the 5070. Like that's not cheap in an absolute sense, and there are definitely good cards below that, but that is cheaper than Nvidia has been dealing with in the last couple of generations.
Yeah.
5070 Ti at $749, 5080 at $999, and the 5090 at $1999, which people thought the 5090 was going to be like $2,500 or more. So it's really bizarre to see people out there celebrating a $2,000 graphics card because it's so much cheaper than they were expecting.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but that at that tier, we're less in the I need to run my Crytek game fast, and more I'm doing some AI shit.
Like a workstation card primarily. I mean, yes, you can certainly spend $2,000 on a 5090 and play games extremely fast on it, but like it's got 32 gig of RAM on it. Like it is absolutely for machine learning productivity and development applications. If you want to get into it, they announced a $3,000 Mac Mini that is the next step up in that sense.
Wait, what do you mean?
They like a tiny little box that is it's got 128 gig of RAM in it. It's the size of a Mac Mini. Yeah, it's basically a miniaturized version of their kind of lowest end like workstation
running
level.
Windows.
No, it would run Linux out of the box.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, with this stuff, like these cards will be faster than the 40 series minus the new DLSS stuff, but not from the looks of things, maybe not like wildly faster. Like where they're out here quoting all these huge performance numbers, that's with like the full slate of DLSS 4 features turned on. And you know, they're saying like, oh, there'll be like 75 games at launch that support DLSS 4 in some fashion, but like when they're out there saying like a 5070 is twice as fast as a 4090, like that is a very, very selective way of putting that.
Well, at this point, I mean, do you think getting in on the floor with the 5070, if you have not upgraded since the 2000 series?
Oh yeah, right? you're golden. Like this is great. News.
Go in at the 5000 level.
Great news for somebody who, I'd say if you're even like two to three generations old, like these prices are good news for you.
Yeah.
Because last generation, the 40 cards were way more expensive relatively.
Right.
But it's looking like and actually, sorry, I should say all of the features of DLSS 4 are going to be on the 40 cards, except for they have better frame generation that is now generating multiple frames instead of one.
But we'll have to TBD and see when that even rolls out into games, right?
Yeah,
that just will come out immediately.
There will probably be a fair amount of support.
Okay.
In the next few weeks for games, but
you think this will be a feature? This isn't like Tress Effects where
no. This is definitely stuff that okay. If you go watch their presentation, some of the more pie in the sky AI stuff they're pushing here feels like it might not be supported in that many games. Probably.
Okay.
They're doing full on like neural net generated materials now, and like they're effectively doing like you know what deepfakes is. Deepfakes are in video. They're doing that for like digital character faces now, like they basically be able to like deep fake a better, higher quality face onto a video game model,
like generated per user
or per character in a game, basically. Like,
but like in real time for the consumer or at the development level?
Yeah, real time in the game.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, they're getting into wild stuff here. This is a much deeper topic, but like I think in the next like 5 years, we are going to have to seriously step back and reevaluate what real time graphics are in video games. Because of the direction this stuff is going. Like he was up there on stage talking about he was like, okay, in like a set of 4 frames, I'm kind of fudging the numbers here, but he was like, out of like 33 million pixels that are being rendered across these 4 frames, only 2 million of them were actually rendered by the graphics card. And the other like 28 or
generated.
We're all kind of extrapolated from that by AI.
Fascinating.
Like it's getting weird for sure.
So sorry, I know this is like almost in the popular mechanics vein of like futurist stuff, but like, does that mean they are leaning more on those AI cores than their actual rendering cores?
Yes, absolutely. That's where the R&D is now. That's where the big improvement is in these things. Like some of that I think is trickling down from that's where their money is made now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some of it also is I think we have hit severe diminishing returns on traditional ways of producing graphics.
Yeah.
So
let's see when the rubber hits the road on some of this stuff. Still feels very bubbly.
I'll close the loop on this before we move on. Like when I talk about like we may need to like recalibrate what we think graphics are. Like if you go back like 7-8 years now, you can find presentations that Nvidia was giving 2018 or whatever, where they were talking about, and they were using goofy language. They were like, like we could see in like DLSS 10, the entire renderer is just a neural net. Like we're not using polygons anymore. Like an AI is painting every frame itself, basically.
Right.
Is the type of stuff they have been talking about, and kind of seems like what they're working toward.
Could
be warned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll say like they've done technical demonstrations of exactly this kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't believe them, but I do believe them. I don't know.
Look, pry my polygons from my cold dead hands.
There you go. Back to voxels. Voxels are bust. Also,
that's right. Let's get some quads up in here.
It is also should be noted, a big asterisk Nvidia backing dump trucks of money into their AI business right now. Just do they even have stiff competition out there? I feel like they
Not
are
really.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's no surprise they are doing heavy AI in any concept of the word presentations.
Yeah.
But video cards coming in sub $2,000.
Yeah, like again, if you're in the market for an upgrade, if you haven't bought a card in 4 or 5 years, like these prices are pretty friendly.
Yeah.
But the main thing though is like from the 40 series to the 50 series, so far it does not look like a worthy or worthwhile upgrade, I should say.
Yeah.
Because almost all those features are trickling back to the 40 series.
Yes. That's kind of the big hardware news that we've pulled here from CES for games, but there's some cross-industry news here that came out of CES. Alex Navarro, movies, Screens owned Alex Navarro.
Indeed.
What is on the movie tip?
Here on the Screen Watch.
From Sony.
Look, man, it's fine. I accept that role. It's mostly a lot of Sony stuff, and it is just, look, they make a lot of video game movies and TV shows now, and Sony seems like they really want to be at the vanguard of that stuff. Obviously, Last of Us did very well for them, and one of the first things here is that we now know when Last of Us Season 2 is dropping, which is this April.
Oh, that's, wow, I didn't realize they were that far along on that.
They did a lot of the filming last year, I think. So it would make that does fit within their time window. I think it was also it's been about 2 years now since Last of Us dropped.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah, so that fits with HBO's schedule.
Just in time for my Switch 2.
I still have not watched that first season, but I will eventually. The big one here, I think, is that it's sort of a double shot here. There was originally a Horizon Zero Dawn series in development at Netflix, and now they are super not doing that, specifically because they are now making a feature film.
Oh. Okay.
Columbia Pictures, obviously, Sony, and PlayStation Productions are in the early stages of developing a film adaptation of the award-winning Horizon Zero Dawn. Just imagine Aloy's beloved origin story set in a vibrant, far future world filled with the giant machines brought to you for the first time on the big screen.
Mm-hmm. The beloved origin story.
It's a really weird way of phrasing that. I
mean, Zero Dawn has a really good story. Like, they're not wrong. And also, I bet it's going to be pretty rad to see a lot of those robots with, high-end Hollywood production values.
Yeah, big budget.
I don't know. That also, to me, though, like that just sounds so reminiscent of the way they approached the Last of Us series, which was just to like retell the story of the game pretty directly. And this kind of sounds like it is continuing straight on from that philosophy, which is it's great for people who didn't already play the game. I don't know. It's just I don't get super excited about just seeing exactly the same story again, though.
No, I don't either. And I think the bigger thing for me is it's interesting that they have decided to pivot away from, let's say like a Fallout style series into, just a single big budget feature. And I'm wondering if they just ran into a situation where they were really trying to pull some blood from a stone in terms of like, how do you make this into an 8 episode or whatever kind of thing?
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
They also run into budget problems as a series.
Like the Fallout show is the perfect counterexample to this, though, of like that has very little directly to do with any specific Fallout game, right? It's just the setting.
Just some of the lore. That's kind of it.
Like they just took the setting and made a show and wrote a story that was very good for the medium that just happened to be set in the Fallout universe. So anyway.
Yeah, I think, like I said when we talked about the Horizon stuff before, I think doing a series before Aloy could have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
sure.
In the kind of lead of the big war, like just do but maybe that's not what they want to sell, Yeah. Maybe it's not the story they want to sell. But I think that could be interesting during the actual war before the Earth collapses.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
There's some ideas they could run with. We'll see where it goes. They are, like they said, they're in the early stages, so I don't think they even have like a full writer or director yet for that thing. We will see.
I guess I will say really quick, like I guess like a positive way to look at it is like it's pretty like flattering to the quality of stories that Sony is putting out that a lot of them can just kind of translate directly to another medium at this point.
Well, okay.
Or at least Last of Us did.
Yeah, Last of Us translated, it seems like pretty well. I think there are other properties, and I think like Horizon is a sensible stab to take in that direction. I just don't think they've actually produced enough of these yet to know whether they will work every time or not.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
For instance, I don't know that an Until Dawn movie is really going to do a whole lot for me that the game did not.
That is a real snake eating its own tail kind of thing.
I don't think I realized this was happening.
I did know about this, but I've forgotten about it.
I knew about it, but like it's a fun game because it's such a take on the movies, you know? Like it's and then to make a movie of this thing that is basically a movie,
right?
but an interactive. It's
like the whole point is they are taking the style of like teen monster thriller, slasher thriller kind of thing and making it interactive,
right? Like does this just become yet another slasher movie that's indistinguishable from 800 others?
I don't know.
A movie?
I think the answer is yes.
I want an Until Dawn, the game of the movie.
Now we're talking.
Look, they did get Peter Stormare, so he is going to show up and probably play Dr. Hill or whatever it is. But here's what they say. The movie's going to be full of fresh characters and victims in a brand new story loaded with twists. So I don't think they're just doing the Until Dawn story straight.
I think them doing this with Until Dawn, which I understand, it's a big one. It's probably their biggest one. Instead of it doing it as part of the Dark Pictures, which I think would make more sense to me as someone who's followed this stuff, like Dark Pictures movie.
Like turn that into a movie anthology. Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. Like it's like, hey, it's a new movie in the Dark Pictures universe. But I understand Until Dawn probably still carries more, cachet to get people butts in seats. So I get it.
And I'm just going to throw one last thing in here that is just like my other gripe that I never would have actually expected them to do this, but I think it kind of sucks that they didn't. I don't know much about David Sandberg as a director. I don't have any real strong opinions of him one way or the other. Though apparently the only things he's really made are Kung Fury and Blood Machines, which are, I think Blood Machines is just a short video series made with an electronic musician. I don't know. Larry Fessenden, who is the screenwriter or the co-screenwriter of the original Until Dawn, is an accomplished horror filmmaker. The guy has written and directed multiple movies. Granted, none of them were like huge, but like the guy who wrote your game is literally a film director.
Yeah.
Why not get him?
Yeah. It's hard to argue with that.
He's not an expensive one either. He mostly makes indie horror films. I don't know. That bothered me that they asked out Larry Fessenden, a guy I'm kind of fond of.
Yeah, is he not? I'm trying to dig in. I didn't know much about the Until Dawn announcement. Did they say anything previously that they're not going to bring him in at all?
No, I don't even think they brought it up.
I guess, like you said, this is a whole new. This is a different story with different characters, right?
Yeah,
so,
and that's fine. But again, if you've got Fessenden available, let that motherfucker make a movie, please.
The person who maybe was partly responsible for making this whole thing get traction.
Totally, exactly. The last couple of notes here, there is a Helldivers 2 movie apparently coming, and it is not just Starship Troopers. Again, talk about hustling fucking backwards here. What are we talking about?
Right? Like
what are we talking about here? We're literally talking about Starship Troopers.
Yep.
Yes. Where is what's his name to do another one of those videos about
Casper Van Dien?
Yeah, it's just Starship Troopers. It's just they're just.
Do you think that guy's gotten less weird in the ensuing decades? I don't think so.
I gotta find that video again.
Look, they don't say what this movie is. They don't even say if it's live action or animated. The thing I'm going to say is if they make an animated movie, that actually might be justifiable enough for me to say, sure, okay. But a live action version of Helldivers has existed since 1997.
And Helldivers knows it.
Yeah.
Like there's no one I can imagine at Helldivers 2 that has any plausible deniability or even attempt to be like, no, it is Starship Troopers.
No, it's just, what are we doing?
But I can't hold it against the devs because they clearly are referencing and know what's going on there. It is trying to make a movie that is particularly of Starship Troopers the movie.
Yeah. The last thing I will say here is that there is apparently an anime in the works featuring Ghost of Tsushima. It is directed by Takanobu Mizuno, who, from what I was able to gather, mostly actually was originally a video game animator. He worked on some late Mega Man stuff. He was a character animator on Hotel Dusk Room 215.
Huh. Okay.
And I also the original Shin Megami Tensei Persona. But he's also directed a couple of anime series, including, I think, some stuff for Star Wars Visions.
Yeah, I saw that he had done maybe one of those shorts.
Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about this guy's pedigree, but I don't look. I'm kind of done with that original Ghost of Tsushima story, but I think doing this as like an animated thing, why not? Sure, okay.
Does Verhoeven still do movies? He's
mostly in Europe.
Okay.
He moved back to Europe at some point, and he made that Isabelle Huppert movie. What was that? Where she plays like a video game executive.
What?
Hang on, I gotta look this up. That actually would have been an interesting one for our barely related to video games category for the watch. L is the name of the movie. Huh. He also made Benedetta a couple of years ago, which is a horny nun movie.
Okay.
But L is like a dark drama where this video game like executive like goes on like a rape revenge story.
Huh. He doesn't do a lot of English language movies anymore, right?
No, it's all in Europe now.
Okay.
Well, tap him for Helldivers 2.
No, I think he's better than that. I'm not saying I don't like Helldivers 2, but like, what could benefit him as an artist to do
money,
that?
A bunch, nothing artistic, just a dump truck of money.
Hollywood stopped giving him dump trucks full of money after Hollow Man.
Oh, fair, but
it's a bad movie.
Yeah. All right. We've got one more story here. I told my son about the Helldivers movie. He was pretty excited.
You should show him Starship Troopers.
We did. Did
you? Because there's a lot of boobs in that movie.
We did.
Okay.
We did because I don't think I allowed him to play Starship or Helldivers 2 until he had seen it.
Okay.
Because the kid's got to know.
Oh yeah.
He actually we had him read Starship Troopers, then see the movie, and then was able to do.
No, don't do that. Don't make him read Heinlein at this age. What are we doing? Okay,
here's the serious take on it. And now here's somebody saying how dumb it is.
Mm-hmm. That's right. He kind of needed to have the whole like, hey, here's this kind of like, and then here's the like, oh, okay, we're making fun, and then here's Helldivers 2, right? It's a whole progression. Speaking of weird progressions, Private Division.
Yes. What a tale.
So if you don't remember, Private Division was sold off. Let me just check my notes here. Sold off in November, and it was kind of undisclosed to whom it was sold off. Now, Private Division, publisher, maybe some of your favorite games, maybe not. Kerbal Space Program.
Heard of it.
Ollie Ollie World.
Yeah.
Great
Rollerdrome. The physical version of Hades.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
The Outer Worlds before Obsidian was bought by Microsoft.
Yep. They put out Penny's Big Breakaway, which is a pretty rad little indie platformer from last year. Yeah, the game's cool.
And then spun up this when I was looking up what's going on with Private Division. This got in the weeds a bit, but spun up Intercept Games from people from Star Theory, which are the people who took over for Kerbal Space Program.
Right.
For Kerbal Space Program 2. And then Star Theory was shut down, and then some people went more over into Intercept Games, and then Intercept Games was shut down. Anyway, Private Division was sold off.
Yeah.
Corporations.
And in September, a bunch of people walked out of Annapurna.
I remember
that. On that. We talked about that.
Yes, like the majority of their staff, I believe.
There was some kind of dispute that happened. Well, turns out Private Division were sold to an equity firm called Haveli, Haveli Investments, private equity firm from Texas. And they have now tagged a bunch of the Annapurna people to carry on with the Private Division existing contracts. Unclear exactly where that's going to go in the future.
Okay.
So they do have some outstanding stuff, including a thing from Game Freak.
Yeah, that was the weirdest detail in this. I mean, this whole thing is a little weird, although quite cool, I think, because like the Annapurna people and the Private Division portfolio seem like a good match, I guess, because they are both like kind of offbeat, you know?
They were of a similar publisher type.
Yeah, like they both in kind of a Devolver style, or maybe even a little more esoteric and artistic than that. But like,
I call them big indie.
Yeah,
like that's obviously like Private Division was backed by 2K, so they were never actually indie,
right.
But they were giving money to indie devs.
Right, but yes, the fact that they're putting out a game from Game Freak,
yeah,
that's a little nuts.
I missed that detail. That's like maybe the weirdest part of this whole thing.
That's a codename Project Bloom. So
Game Freak, the Pokemon developer, to be clear.
Yes.
In case you were wondering.
This, is a new IP, not a Pokemon thing. Or I mean, they say it's a new IP. Pal World. No. I thought Private Division had been around longer than it was, but I guess it was only spun up in 2017. Which,
it was a handful of years. Might
be long to some people. Doesn't seem that long ago to me. Right as you guys just said, to kind of cover not AAA, kind of middle tier, not necessarily straight indie, that middle tier game.
Yeah, basically like trying to give money to indie devs and giving them a publisher.
Yeah, and then Brad, like you said, corporations, and then
how the fuck do they work?
I don't know.
No one does anymore. That's the problem. No one knows.
Private equity owns Private Division, which the folks from Annapurna that walked out are now working to shepherd some of those projects through. Is the short story?
Yeah. I don't think we know exactly how many people do we from Annapurna.
It said in the story, I think it said how many people were at Private Division, which was around 20.
Yeah.
But they said they will probably be layoffs as part of that.
This all came from Jason Schreier. We should mention at Bloomberg.
Yes, over at Bloomberg.
Yeah, it just says some of Private Divisions. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm misreading that. I don't think it says how many are going to this new outfit.
No, it's not clear here. At least in the write up I was looking at from Video Game Chronicles of Schreier's story.
Yeah,
so
clearly not all of them though.
It's a weird one.
Yeah,
Mr. Grinch.
Yeah, I mean, it's
everything's
cool.
weird right now, man.
Seems like a reasonably feel good. Like everybody could use some feel good news, right?
Yeah,
like
there's not feel bad.
Like this group of people who had to walk out of their company over disputes, and this portfolio of games that got kind of unceremoniously shoved out,
shunted around,
like have gotten matched up. So that seems like a good thing.
There's always something when the word private equity enters the equation that I get a little like it's got a very similar thing of just like okay, all right, what do we, and maybe it's the Red Ventures in me, I don't know, but there's definitely a little something that's like,
you should have gotten that Red Ventures out of you by now.
It's still in there.
You got it, dude. You should see a doctor.
There's a level of trust or just kind of a non-emotional investment. It's pure financial investment,
Yeah.
That makes me a little skittish. So, but yeah, I'm with you, Brad. Like pairing up these two things could be very beneficial to both parties.
I hope so.
It's just that whenever I hear private equity, maybe this is unfair because I don't really live in a private equity world. It makes me think they will shit can it as soon as it doesn't give them the return they want. Right?
No, if anything, that's incredibly fair of you.
But I don't know. Will they put out the Hades 2 physical release? Who knows? Who knows? They're certainly not putting out Outer Worlds 2.
No.
So yeah, that's what the fuck's going on with Kerbal Space Program 2? Shrugs. I really don't know. That's who knows?
I can tell you this. I just checked the bio of a friend of mine who used to be at Annapurna.
Yeah.
It says was co-head of Annapurna Interactive, and then for now it's just 3 question marks.
Okay.
So maybe involved, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you can ask them what's going on with Kerbal Space Program 2 if those question marks change. That's going to do it for the news, I believe. Plenty of other CES news, but we're not going to go over here. I'm sure there are AI-powered fridges and phones you could roll up into a, I don't know, fruit roll-up size thing. At some point I moved on from talking fridges and smart fridges to rollable TVs and phones. Yeah. That's kind of what my CES metric is now. Like, all right, what can we roll up? Do we have a TV we can roll a consumer level TV we can roll up now into a tube? Yeah,
So I believe they do.
Okay,
I
they're
mean,
selling
like
it?
on the market, no, probably not.
Yeah. I think I saw one a year or two ago that they demoed.
I think the technology exists, but
I think they had that trifold phone. Did that make it to CES?
Yep.
Man. Do you guys ever see a foldable phone in the wild?
Yeah, I've seen one.
Yeah. Have you touched
I've never
one?
seen anyone just using one in the wild.
West Finland has one. I've seen his.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seem cool? I don't know. Something cool about it.
It's kind of neat.
Think we'll get major adoption on that front? At some point, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think it'll maybe remain a category, but probably not like the thing.
Question mark.
Always weird stuff going on in the Android world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What is one of my favorite things? Whenever Bacalar is on, like Never Been a Better podcast, he's always one of the like, yeah, well, Android had it 5 years before Apple changed it. Always very funny.
Somehow makes perfect sense that he's an Android guy.
Yeah.
Which is not like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just like,
I think he would say, like in his defense, he would say he goes where the best product is.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Which is just like his general interest in technology that squares for me.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for the news. Let's move into the emails. Podcast at nextlander.com. Podcast at nextlander.com. Brad Shoemaker, we got any emails in the email hopper?
Let's do a couple quick ones here.
Okay.
Zach from Virginia. I travel a lot for work and as such often go to bad restaurants and sit at the bar for dinner because if you're going to have a chicken tender salad, there really isn't a lot of difference in where you go.
That's true.
Yum, though.
I was sitting at the bar in an Applebee's near my hotel when a gentleman sat down at the bar next to me. The bartender did the usual presentation of a menu and coaster and asked how he was doing, to which this dude responded, well, my wife just left me.
It sounds like a lyrics to like a Tracy Chapman song or something.
Yeah. After this, I put in my AirPods and very much did not make eye contact for the duration of my meal. But it did make me wonder, what bad chain restaurant would you go to drown your sorrows after a horrible marital or family event?
Ooh. Oh, too rough on that one. I don't know.
And how much would you tip your wait staff for trauma dumping on them? P.S. The dude got a salad and a bacon cheeseburger and spent the evening watching hockey on his phone. I guess we all process in our own ways.
It's true. I'm trying to think where I've gone after big depressing breakups. And I feel like the only one I can think of off the top of my head was there was definitely one breakup where I spent a very hard night at Chili's.
Alone?
No, not alone. I was with friends.
Okay.
They took me out. Not because of the breakup. We were just going to hang out. And I remember it was just like right after the breakup. I ate a lot of skillet queso.
Okay. Oh, interesting. That's not where I thought we were going to hear about like bottomless margaritas or something.
Oh, I had some drinks too. I definitely had a couple of fruity beverages and a lot of skillet queso and jalapeno poppers and what have you. I did not feel good by the end of it by any stretch, but I definitely felt full.
Bizarre.
Take your mind off it.
Bizarre human tendency when you feel bad. Often the answer is to make yourself feel worse.
Way worse. Yeah.
I think my true answer would be probably eating a bunch of ordered in food at home. But if we're in the spirit of the question of where would I go? Oh man, I really don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like I haven't done this, but my knee-jerk answer is like a Denny's Waffle House tier diner or something along those lines. Is the spirit of this question that you have to engage with the staff in some way to let them know that you are? Yeah, it sounds like it.
Okay. So would you tell your waiter or waitress that
if you're depressed, you have to tell me?
I guess you're there alone in this thought experiment.
Yeah.
I just don't think I would go to a place like that alone ever.
That's what
no
I'm
matter
saying.
how depressed I am.
I used to love going when I was in New York early in my career. I would go to diners alone.
That's fine. Just like a regular thing? Sure.
Yeah. Just like go and like get a coffee and a newspaper and just sit and eat something alone.
That is not my depression. My depression is not a go somewhere, be by myself, and then make my depression someone else's problem. Mine is make it the most my problem as possible by never going out.
That's my problem too is, okay, if I were dumped in a food court and I just then I might go to somewhere like a
Sbarro.
Fridays.
That was my first thought as well. Honestly, I'm not sure there is another answer.
You might be right. Just give it to me, and I would also tell whoever's behind the counter that I just got dumped.
I'm just imagining telling the person who is shoveling orange chicken from Panda Express into a container about how my wife left me, and just how that is the worst thing you can do to a person who works in that kind of food service.
What is the sympathy cup of food they give you as the freebie to be like on the house? Is it like a little thing of broccoli?
It's literally like a large soda cup full of chow mein noodles.
just like I'm really sorry.
I need you to leave, though, because there's like 4 people in line behind you.
Here, you look like you need this.
Just slides it down the counter.
It's dangerous to go alone.
Take your time. Keep them coming. Keep that chow mein coming. Yeah, I would. My real answer is I would be at home with the lights off, eating.
Wailing.
Yeah, eating Domino's.
Jizz wailing.
Just jizz wailing.
Yeah.
Yep, the entire night away. I will say this story because this is the place to put it. When I was on a work trip, I forget to where, I forget how, I forget why. I was on a work trip sitting at the hotel restaurant alone, with a cup of coffee and a newspaper. Cup of coffee, alone, maybe a couple glass of wine. And a woman came up to me and gave me a newspaper and gave me a look, and she went, "I know how it is." And then,
wow.
And then,
Huh.
and then walked away. There was nothing written on the newspaper as far as I could tell, but like I will murder you or
please help or anything like that.
Nope. I think it was just like you're alone.
Yep.
You need this.
You look very very sad.
Sometimes you just give off a vibe.
Yeah. So I guess maybe a hotel lobby is where I'm drawn. Brad, you got another email?
Yeah, let's do one more. Travis and Fargo. Back again. I think this is not addressed to Alex, but he can probably speak to this. I signed up for a Mario Kart competition at my local library, but I'm not very good at the game. How can I either get good at Mario Kart or sabotage the competition?
Let's just assume for the sake of argument here, he's talking about current Mario Kart, because that's probably what everyone will be playing, like Mario Kart 8, Deluxe, Switch, what have you. There's not really any good way to sabotage that game other than, continuing to play it the way it is intended. Just, blue shells, self-sabotage, that kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, Mario Kart is not an overly deep or complex game. It's really just about getting a good feel, like it is getting a sense of like, this is the weight class I like, this is the set of tires and kart that I like, and just, try a bunch of stuff and just see what works for you, because none of it is that deviant from each other. It's just that there are slight differences. That's really it. What
do you think, what is the like go-to course, cup or something that would probably come up in any
of the beginner courses is just a good way to warm up. I think, ultimately you will probably end up seeing some Bowser castles, and you will end up seeing, I don't know, I'm not assuming the DLC is definitely there. It's a library. They may not have invested. But of the default courses, I imagine you will see a lot of the ones from like the 3rd and 4th cups.
And can you still get that speed boost? Is that still a thing?
It's not exactly. I mean, you definitely can still get the little, spark boost by doing the power sliding. Yeah. But I'm not sure how well snaking works in that version, because I don't do it because I have honor. Okay.
A couple of other as somebody who is like familiar with but not deep in, if I had to prepare, any other like, when do you use what's the shrinky device called that makes everybody small?
The lightning bolt.
Yeah. Is that something that you use, you save, you hold on to? Is that just pop it when you got it? Do you just use power-ups as you get them, or can you hold on to them?
It really depends on the power-up. I mean, you can use them anytime. Like, you can hold them for indefinitely or use them immediately if you want. But the main thing is that, there's a little bit of strategy with those big weapons like the blue shells and the lightning bolts and what have you. But with everything else, it literally is, do you have a shell? Is there a reason to use it right now?
Yeah.
If there isn't, don't. If there is, do. That's really as deep as it goes.
Shoot it behind you if you're in first?
Yeah, and here's the thing. No one actually cares if you're good at Mario Kart. If you're participating in a local Mario Kart tournament at a library, no one there is judging you. And if they are, what are they doing with their lives?
They're playing in a Mario Kart tournament at a library.
Yeah.
It's funny because my kids have gone to Mario Kart tournaments at the library.
That's fine.
Wait, is this like a national thing? Is this just a thing that happens?
I think in a good library, and I'm a big supporter of public libraries, and you have like video game rentals and stuff like that. They have spaces for people to come get together and play games. Fund your library. I'm hearing too many stories about libraries.
Make it so they can buy that Mario Kart DLC.
Yeah, libraries are awesome.
That's right. Yes. Big fan.
I just had a thought listening to this conversation. What if when they unveil the Switch 2, there is a new Mario Kart?
What if it's just Mario Kart 8 again?
No.
Like that's that would be even funnier if they just re-released the same game for a third time. But
so they re-release it again. It has the current big pile of DLC all on the thing, and then they announce another 50 DLC courses.
Man, I mean, that DLC isn't that old, so they did just put out new Mario Kart content, kind of, but
and a lot of it, honestly.
But what's it been? When did 8 come out? Like, it's been over a decade, right? Since
it was a Wii U game.
Right, so it's like since a fully brand new Mario Kart, it's been like a decade.
It was a later Wii U game, to be fair. It was later in the lifespan, I think.
They're absolutely going to put out that and a Splatoon 3 that is just more of Splatoon 2 and 1.
Yeah.
And they'll put out, you know what? I'd be okay with a Breath of the Wild remaster or whatever. So
it'll be 11 years in May since Mario Kart 8 came out.
It's a great Mario Kart.
I bet they're making a new Mario. I would not be shocked if there was a Mario Kart at launch.
I
actually would be because of that DLC. I honestly think that was their big Mario Kart project for a little while.
But also, it's like far and away the highest selling Switch game.
Oh yeah, and I bet they'll continue to sell it on the Switch too.
They would be crazy not to make another one.
Oh, they'll do it. I'm just saying. I don't think it'll be a launch game.
Maybe not. I'm going to say that or a new Mario platformer.
What if, Brad,
3D platformer.
What if you could drive the car by putting the Joy-Con down like a mouse?
What if?
You steer it, and you could steer it like a little car as you're driving. Oh, Nintendo. Don't put it past Nintendo, and don't give them any ideas. Is that it for the emails?
Yep.
All right. We're going to wrap this one up here. I almost forgot how to do this part of the job. Folks, we got a bunch of stuff coming up here. We are back with the Watchcast. We are in Jude Law January, mostly the sci-fi part of his catalog.
Entirely, actually.
Entirely. We have recorded Sky Captain. We have recorded, but not published yet, Repo Men. We will be getting to AI and Gattaca in the future.
We're going to solve this AI thing.
We are going head on with AI. I'm ready for it. That's going to be a couple of weeks, though. But you can catch Sky Captain up now and Repo Man next week. Excited about this journey. And its finale also with Gattaca. One of my, currently, in my mind, one of my favorite movies of all time. But we will see when we revisit. You never know.
It's the greatest movie.
Does weird things.
It's the greatest movie to ever largely be filmed at the Marin Civic Center.
There you go. Fun fact, I didn't know.
Yes, a lot of it was filmed at the Marin Civic Center.
Weird. As a Civic, I guess I'll find out. Like as a Civic Center in the movie, or like they just used the Civic Center as a set?
I want to say nothing about it. You will discover for yourself.
Is this like how like 90% of Home Alone was shot in a high school gymnasium?
Was it?
Yeah, totally was.
Huh.
They built that house. The interior of the house was built in a high school gym, and that's where they shot that movie.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all coming up on the Watchcast. Again, you could tune in, check those out. Everybody's talking about the Watchcast. Go over to patreon.com, treat yourself, go check it out, where you can find also Never Been a Better Podcast, the video version of the Ramblecast, the video versions of our Game of the Year are there. Planorama will be up there later this week. Also a video version of that. A lot of podcasts, a lot of video versions of podcasts, in case you were wondering. You also can join in our Discord, where we have officially, let me check my watch. Yes, it's official, the best community on the planet over on our Discord. Find a tier that is right for you over at patreon.com/Nextlander. Alex Navarro,
Yes.
We have one tier there, the Mysterious Benefactors, that gets their names read on this here show. Would you do the honor of 2025's first reading of the Mysterious Benefactor?
I think I can pull that off. Our Mysterious Benefactors for this month are Sean Miller, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, NXL Retirement Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deirdre Dunquick, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, Bunny 20.3 gigabytes per second, Jad Rita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Randy Alderson, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks again to all of our supporters and patrons, and thanks again to our Mysterious Benefactors, and thanks for joining us in 2025. Bit of housekeeping here related to the Patreon. We are talking to the people who publish, what was it, our partners, our ad partners on the podcast,
network. Yep.
our ad network. We are going to probably have those dynamic ads. You've heard them on every other podcast on the world. Our partner has them now. They will be not host-read ads. That is the big distinction here. So if you hear those, it's probably not in error. They will be inserted at some point in the future. We're not exactly sure yet.
Yeah, maybe not this week or next week, but soon. And they will be manicured, like they will be put into the actual breaks and not just pop in mid-sentence. Be aware.
We have held off. We have held the tide maybe for as long as we could, but it sounds like maybe the technology is there. The filtering was one of the big things that we wanted to make sure. Stuff might sneak through, and if you ever hear something that's really out of line, you can always let us know, and we'll call them up, see what's up. Or you can always get the ad-free version over at patreon.com/Nextlander.
Ad-free experience.
An ad-free experience.
It's out there.
It's available.
You can find it.
Just a little heads up there. Also, Brad, you and I will be streaming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be back on Friday streaming, possibly with guests.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
We're locking that down. Like I said, on Monday, we got a stream. You can check out my Satisfactory factory, some Ballionaire in there, some climbing on a rock. I can't remember the name of the game right now, but it was a mountain climbing game in early access. It was also there. Like I said before, Sky Captain up now. Tons of stuff. Go check it out. Planorama end of the week.
Hit the ground running.
2025. Got to build up that content slate. Here's the great thing about going to our Patreon. All the other years are still up there.
That's right.
We don't get rid of them.
No. It's not like shitty jobs where your vacation time just gets flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, you don't see us taking tax write-offs for flushing old content down the drain.
Nope.
That's right. Wait, we could do that? Well, we don't know about that yet.
Unfortunately, now you know about it. Shit.
Go check it out. It's all there waiting for you. Thanks, everybody, for supporting us. Thank you, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad Shoemaker.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week.